guy, enthusiastically copying in scrolls, suddenly finds something important. Eyes are burning with grip. He immediately undertakes to record thoughts with a smile on his face. In the world without TV and phone, magic captures completely. He gives her head, enjoying every moment as if fascinated. Having spread his hands among the chaos of papers, he exclaims, "This is the perfect world that he always dreamed of." As a child, the guy sincerely believed that he came from the kind of magicians, because his father spoke with such seriousness that there was no doubt. During the show, he saw a person as if he was stuck on stage, but he quietly went away. The guy did not realize that it was only a focus. Without a strong parental support, the guy plunged into magic with his head, turning admiration into futile addiction. At 17, he already knew that there was no magic, but somewhere deep in her heart, hope was that she is real. One day he is asked to help with the dark magic lab they want to close. Despite the persistent exhortation of the girl, the guy decides to leave. Subsequently, it becomes frank. She says she does not want to deal with such a strange company as he has, in her voice disappointment. While walking, the girl suddenly asks if he is in love with her. Her view is full of expectation. The guy is embarrassed and cannot be answered clearly. Having lost patience, she turns away and goes away. He is surprised, but inadvertently smiles. The situation is confused but real. Seeing the girl gets into trouble, the guy does not hesitate. He rushes under the truck to save her. Subsequently, he wakes up confused, not understanding where he was in the hospital or was still rescued. He opens his eyes in a strange room, realizing that he is definitely not a hospital. A man approaches him and says something in an unfamiliar language. Confusion is only growing. The guy tries to understand where he got. There is only one question in your head: what happened? Surprise goes into shock. He realizes that his body is no longer the one he used to. Now he is in the body of the baby. Nearby is a couple of adults who look at him with love. It seems to be his new family. It is 2 years. He lives in the family of the Marin clan, leading a simple, cozy life. Against the background, a calm scene. Someone calls him for lunch. The new name is Abel Balek. Parents are proud. In 2 years he eats on his own, and they consider it a sign of a great mind. They are convinced that the younger sister will also be smart, because their family grows special children. Meanwhile, Abel dreams only of the rain, from which it becomes clear the memories of the past life are still alive inside him. He watches the life of the Marin clan, noticing one interesting rice, all red eyes and white hair. The guy notices the complete lack of technology and understands. He is on the continent, whose name has never heard. Gradually, its reincarnation took place in a completely different, amazing world, unlike Earth. In 4 years, Abel is fully influencing the clan and admiring the carvings of the totem, finding a real inspiration in this. These totems are magical relics that play the role of amulets and are used in rituals as spiritual defenders. Working on the next totem, he thinks, is not the same magical doll he read about. While Abel is watching, the father heals a small mother's wound with a spell. He is amazed, seeing magic with his own eyes. The guy is aware Clan Marin really owns charms. It ignites even greater interest in the new world. Every day he sees the members of the clan naturally use magic, as if it were part of everyday life. They cause magical creatures, control water and fire, demonstrating the fascinating opportunities of their world. The guy is convinced magic here is reality, not a dream of childhood. Recalling his fanatical fascination with magic, Abel rejoices. That life was not in vain, it brought him here. He is overwhelmed by happiness. Sitting in a bucket, the guy celebrates. Now he lives in a world where magic is real. Suddenly, the younger sister of Giselle appears and asks to play together, bringing joy to everyday life. He wants to refuse, they say, busy with carvings, but the girl stubbornly remains nearby without step away. Although everyone is advised to play with their sister, Abel prefers totem. It is increasingly clear to him this is not the earth, but a world of magic. He learns that perfume lives in the air and things, and magic works through team and energy. Totem is the perfect training base. To spell, you need to imagine the spell, focus on the spirits around, and accurately draw magical circles. Totems contribute to this perfectly. Even the wood here is charming, but the knife Marin is fascinated. It is easy to cut trees as if it were dough. Clan Marin was once considered such a powerful magician that they were used as secret weapons in wars. They live among magic trees, and their children from their youth master magic. But despite this, Abel, playing with his sister, doubts the famousness of the genus. Even in the world, magic legends seem somewhat exaggerated. The father gives him a bow and insists hunting is the duty of a real clan husband, but the guy is annoyed. All this seems obsolete to him. Despite his resistance, he is forced to learn shooting. Abel thinks, why, even in the world of magic, is everything in old traditions? At the age of 7, he is fully immersed in the creation of totem, almost without breaking away from his favorite activity. The house is already filled with them. Although he is still a child, treats tradition seriously, but neighbors call him totem crazy and there is no room at home. In the same year, Abel amazes everyone. He creates a magical circle simply in the sky, using the symbols of light. His abilities are delight. The 5-year-old sister Giselle is delighted. He calls him Anisama with pride in his voice without hiding his admiration. Now they are both capable of output-like characters on their own. Together they train, studying magic without assistance. Gizel, albeit a little later, captures the Providence cards. They decide to keep it secret. Abel realizes that self-study has limits. But at least the father approves his admiration, so the guy continues his magical path. Abel goes to the elder of the village, the only one who is approaching the sage from war. He says he is 150 and supports his youth with magic. His serious look scares the guy. Abel asks to teach him magic. The old one warns the lessons will be strict, even for the child. He does not tolerate noise and does not intend to treat the student condescendingly, whoever he may be. After a tense pause, the old man suddenly agrees and asks to come tomorrow. Abel is surprised by such an easy consent. On the same day, he meets Phiro, the grandson of the elder. She reports that her grandfather is satisfied with his determination. After all, few seek to study magic. Phiro believes that her grandfather is happy to share his knowledge again. She is also grateful to Abel for having ever defended her. The girl tries to hide gratitude. They say, did not save him intentionally, just wanted to cheer my grandfather. Abel notices her typical kunder, the behavior, and silently watches, while Gizel looks at all this. From that moment on, the magical training of Abel under the supervision of a village sage begins officially. After training in the correct creation of magical circles in the elder, the magic of Abel has increased significantly. He is delighted. He finally feels what he was doing, what he always dreamed of. Despite the fact that he has to hide the classes from his father and suffers from lack of sleep, he does not stop. Even with a minimum of time, it's worth the effort. It was for this reason that he has reincarnated. Abel promises to return after completing the workout and enjoys the process. Meanwhile, Giselle silently brings him food, showing care. Hours pass through training. He is constantly writing in a room filled with scrolls. The floor is covered with notes. Even at night, it is not distracted, fully focused on magic. Half a year later, the elder wants to see progress. Abel immediately agrees that he is determined to show everything he has learned. From afar, the Gizel silently cheers for him. He activates light characters and shows his skill while managing 2 totems, something extraordinary even for experienced magicians. The elder is watching. The guy perfectly holds both totems at the same time. This is a great achievement. This ability is rare for his age. Abel is trained every morning by improving the control of totem through magic. This is the basis of all magical techniques. He cuts circles on the totem in advance and speaks of dance or doll teams. However, the level of the sage is still far. The elder is even more surprised when he sees how totem is not only spreading, but also rotating. But Abel only warns with a smile, this is only the beginning. And immediately after that it creates a winding in the form of a sphere. Power is stunning everyone. Gizel is delighted. The focused look, the energy pulsates. The guy causes a sphere in which it concentrates pure magical power. Abel demonstrates full control over the spell, keeping it in the air with accuracy and confidence. The result is impressive. It is the fruit of every choice, every day of hard work. The sphere grows, filled with force, begins to move faster. There is a tension in the air. In a moment, a powerful explosion. The shock wave flies on all sides, all around the spell by force. The air is still trembling after the explosion. Abel with a smile apologizes, and the elder is shocked. The totem itself was activated and destroyed the remnants of the attack. Without understanding, as possible, the old man asks where he learned. Abel was responsible, simply experimenting, and accidentally succeeded. The mentor asks whether Abel has completed the magic circle on his own. The guy replies that yes, the old man was busy preparing for the festival, so he acted himself. The old man does not restrain his tears. He is moved. He says he can die now calmly, because Abel is the first student who has completely completed his studies. Abel is sincerely praised by the sister and the teacher. He successfully completed all the spells, proving his skills into practice. The village elder is amazed. Abel not only controls totem, but also creates wind pressure, an incredible force for that age. Finally recognized, the guy is moved to the heart. He feels that he really becomes a real magician, not just a student. Full of thirst for knowledge, he asks to teach even more powerful magic, but the old man recognizes that he is adding nothing to him. He advises to contact the library. Abel takes books and even totem from the old house. He watches his wooden helpers carrying whole stacks of foley. Excited, it is preparing for the transportation of books, and totem has already been lined up into a column, each with a heavy burden. The amazed elder asks how many books he takes. Abel replies that at least 3 walks will have to be done. The old man shocks it. Full determination, the guy goes with the totems, taught books. He says that many more cases he wants to do. For the first time, he really feels a dream. Gizzle is fun stealing nearby, and the mentor proudly watches the young magician. Sitting among totem and books, Abel smiles. His heart is full of happiness. Everything he dreamed becomes a reality. With shining eyes and compressed fist, he exclaims, "This is my perfect world." Finally, he found a place where she was really happy. At the age of 13, Abel is delighted with another project. He runs to an 11-year-old Giselle, who sincerely welcomes him with a happy smile. Both decide to immediately go on an expedition to collect data for a new magical experiment. Abel activates the charming device with the spell Appear. A panel with magical data is lit in the air. The device shows information about a man named Hans, his magic 21, force 34. Gizzle with interest watching the sound of confirmation. The peasant is confused, does not understand what is happening. Meanwhile, the brother and sister are delighted. Abel analyzes the data and concludes the average level of adult strength is about 20. He explains a screen of status inspired by RPG systems. It was about such an interface that he dreamed of life. Gizzle tries to repeat the name, though it is confused but cannot look. She does not understand everything but is quite fascinated. Abel is enthusiastically continued to test his magical RPG system and activates the status of the sister to find out her strength. He is striking the result, in Giselle as much as 37 magic. This is much higher than the average level of adults, which is only 20. Proud of himself, he feels the hero of the game. Gizzle adds that his strength is greater than the adult and delighted imagines his future. She asks for the exact figure with interest, and here he learns Abel's magic is 865. Compared to the average level, it is just a crazy number. All shocked by his potential, but Abel himself realizes that he is physically weaker than his sister, and this is a little depressing. He has only 2 forces, while Gizzle has 8. The difference is 4 times. It is annoying it. In a panic from this discovery, he looks at the Gizzle, which carelessly admires the flower, completely ignoring its inner crisis. Abel sees a boy gathering flowers and smiles. It's so cute, but he quickly understands the bouquet is not for him. And for Giselle, the mood is damaged. She comes with a smile and flowers, but the boy runs away when the friends team. Both are fleeing in a panic, and Abel remains full of surprise. He goes next to Giselle, thoughtful. In his past life, being such, he had little friends, and now, in the world of magic, almost nothing has changed. He sighs, feeling depressed. Giselle notices this, but suddenly someone calls him a familiar voice. It is a branch. Pharaoh screams annoyedly that he again spends something suspicious outside the village and calls him a totemic maniac. Abel is confused. He is even pleased to talk to someone outside his family. To change your mood, she suggests to show her status. Pharaoh panics, thinking that he conceived something strange. He demonstrates her data, magic at the adult level, but strength is up to 20, as a girl is a striking figure. It's 10 more than it is 2. Abel shocked, imagining all the girls would easily beat him. Pharaoh feels awkward. She is in a hurry, says the dad is worried. Gizzle goes with her, but at home they are waiting for their father's anger. He yells at the late return, and even Abel is stealing, though he knows that he is a student of the elder. Giselle protects his brother, but his father does not quench. Abel is amazed as everything has become so tense. The mother complains that he is only playing with magic and does not help with the farm. She is still evil and says that she will only do when he really does something. In her opinion, everyone at his age has already hunt. If so continues, he will not become a good master. When she adds that at least magic can hunt, he firmly replies, "I can." Abel makes a decision. He joins the hunters and solemnly states that he is ready to fulfill his part. Galia meets Abel with a smile and represents her son Shibai. The group goes to the forest, rejoicing in the presence of a young magician. Abel thanks for the warm reception and thinks, these people have long been like a native, but today he says for the first time with them. He recalls that he went hunting not only for physical development, but also for personal reasons. Meanwhile, Giselle is moving at home. The girl is proud of him. He is asked to be careful and return as soon as possible. Her eyes glow with care. Abel understands she is always nearby. Although she suspects that her affection is too strong, he still feels warmth and joy from her support. He recalls that in the Marin clan the age of 16, and marriage is a common thing at an early age. Despite the new world, Abel still feels separate. He hopes that his absence will help Giselle find friends, and decides to take the first step, turns to the Sibai with a greeting, but he only turns away, looking away. The guy ignores Abel's handshake, but he restrains emotions, trying to keep peace. Galia, a detachment leader, forbids him to use magic, only a bow or body, although Abel is convinced that magic would be more effective. Despite this, he accepts the conditions and promises to lay out the full, to show what he is capable of without magic. Within an hour, Abel has exhausted the strength and asks to return home. The exhaustion takes his own. Hunting has just begun, and it is barely breathing. It seems that this activity is not for the magician. It turns out that excessive walking only harms growth. He says that he will refuse to develop power, his fate in magic. Galia does not believe his complaints. Sabiba smiles, calling Abel in vain. He hears everything and squeezes his fists, but is silent. Suddenly, they notice Shimarita, a delicious, though smart bird. Galia proposes to hunt it. Shibai takes the case. He is preparing to shoot, and Abel turns away. He is uncomfortable when they look at him, asks not to pay attention. Shibai releases an arrow but does not hit. Panizes, seeing the bird, flies directly on it. The bird is rapidly approaching, and Shibai loses self-control. The fright covers it completely. Galia understands he will not cope, decides to change the strategy, and advises you to go to the knife. Meanwhile, Abel is watching closely. The bird's behavior seems strange to him. Abel remembers his experience with Biomoja on Rat and decides to try to apply it to a strange bird. At the right time, he speaks a spell of sleep, directing him to the target with accuracy. The spell involves the bird is faint in the air and slowly falls until Galia is preparing to catch it. Abel catches the bird with the help of magic of sleep, affecting everyone. He asks to leave him as a pet, though magic was forbidden today. Despite the reproach he justified, he only wanted to train the body, and hunters whisper with each other, impressed with his enchantments. The earth shudders with loud steps. The group is lost. Is it an earthquake? Soon it becomes clear, something giant moves in their direction. Abel's father orders everyone to flee. Although it is difficult for him to leave his son, Abel is forced to run with others, and Galia himself remains, ordered. If he does not return, tell the elder. A giant bear, fierce and threatening, breaks out of the forest. Everyone is solidifying. Abel immediately recognizes the monster. It is the highest bear, the creature he has heard in legends. It is much more dangerous for creatures than anyone could imagine. The group becomes in fear. No one is ready for such an enemy. They try to attack, but even arrows do not harm. The bear reflects them with incredible force. Without spending time, Abel uses the magic of sleep. To the surprise of everyone, the spell works. The bear falls on the ground without consciousness. Everyone sighs, but as soon as the hope appears, the bear wakes up sharply and rushes fiercely. Abel does not have time to react. In the decisive moment, it is repelled by Galia, rescuing from the blow, but he is seriously injured, covering his son. Bloody, he tries to distract the beast on himself and rejects him with a blow. Abel in despair looks as the father falls. The feeling of guilt squeezes his chest. He is seriously injured. Galia passes Abel responsibility for Giselle and mother. Even with a wound in the abdomen, he soothes his son and praises him. Abel, trembling, uses the magic of healing and feels this is not enough. He pleads, and his father, barely breathing, trusts his family again. At the verge of death, Galia was moved, at least at the end was able to become a real father. Abel, with tears in the eyes, is prepared for battle, without any hesitation. Abel activates fire magic and releases it with all its strength. A powerful flame jet accurately hit the target. But the bear was almost not injured. His skin withstands the blow. Galia shocked. The enemy was still just playing with them. Seeing this, Abel is firmly in position. It is time to act truly. It begins to form a higher-level spell. The face is serious, focused. A large magical circle of light characters appears in the air. It's time to try everything he knows. Analyzing the enemy, the guy understands the thick skin protects the beast from direct attacks. It changes the strategy and prepares the magic of the wind. Causes the blade of wind. The goal is simple, though a little injury to the monster to make him feel pain. Adjusts the circle, focusing only on what can do. The bear is approaching, and it concentrates all the magical power in one impact. Full of determination, he seeks to finally destroy the enemy, at least that it costs him. With confidence in the eyes, Abel activates the spell. A powerful explosion hit a bear, lifting a cloud of light and energy. He puts everything into this blow, begging mentally. so that at least a small wound forces the monster to escape. The light covers everything around. When the smoke begins to dissipate, Abel is stressed as a result, shocked by the consequences of his strength. He only wanted to scare the beast, but the destruction was too strong. The trees were overthrown and the bear is unconscious. In confusion, Abel runs to his father. The boy brings a piece of bear meat and says he has already cut the carcass. Abel asks to cut the meat smaller. The guy nods, nervous. Abel himself looks at his father at heart, fearing the worst. He confirms the man must be reconciled, because he is imposed on the strengthening of vital energy, and there are no external wounds. But nevertheless, the condition remains critical. The situation is exacerbated. Abel grabs a vessel with a strange liquid and a magical symbol. Although not sure, he decides to try. With the help of magic, it turns the bear meat so that it functions as human flesh, the only chance of salvation. Putting meat on the wound, he tries to save his life. This biomagia is actually creating a chimera. In some regions it is legal medicine, in others it is forbidden witchcraft. He is aware of the risk. He first uses biomoja to a person, but you cannot delay. There is no time for doubts. It is determined to save his father. Abel, without delay, goes to action. Time is enough, and he is not entitled to a mistake. After the procedure, the father sleeps quietly. His breathing is equal. His face is relaxed, as if nothing happened. Abel and the guy are watching relief. Despite the fatigue and the faded look, Abel was happy. He managed to make the impossible. But at heart, he is worried about a possible side effect. He decides to talk about it later with the elder. In addition, after meeting with such a monster, it is dangerous to stay here. It's time to go home. He calls Shibai and asks for help. It is necessary to transfer parents with totem. Shibai immediately agrees, even with some enthusiasm. On the way back, Shibai suddenly apologizes for his behavior. Abel apologizes with a smile. He has no insult. He says it's okay and thanks for the support. Without a Shib, he would hardly cope with the transfer of all totems on his own. During the conversation, Shibai confesses he saw a romantic rival in his Abel. Abel is puzzled except for his sister. He is almost no one communicates, and in general, he has always been a member. He mentally remembers Pharaoh, but Shibai quickly clarifies it is about Gizel, which he considers an unattainable flower. Abel loses the gift of language. He explains, Giselle is his sister, so they are always together. In the clan, Marin had a few names, so Shibai apparently confused everything. The surprised Shibai clarifies whether they are really a brother and sister. Abel confirms there is only a family connection between them, nothing more. He thinks that they may really get along too well, as for a brother with his sister. This could cause confusion. Shibai, having joyfully grabbing the topic, asks whether it can be called mowing. Abel immediately turns red and asks not to say more. Soon Abel is surrounded by adults thank and praise him. He is a little awkward, but he answers a smile and a nod. One of them suddenly breaks out of place and runs away, whether on emotions or with new inspiration. Gizel runs to his brother with tears in his eyes. Finally, making sure that everything is fine with him, she hugs him firmly. They both miss. Abel apologizes for the long absence. Gizel barely holds her tears. The moment is too touching to remain indifferent. Secure, the guy realizes that you should not overload yourself with what is not used to. Most happiness is to study magic at home, with a sister nearby. 2 years have passed since the attack of the bear. Life is going on. Abel is now 15. In this new world, he has been living for a long time. Here is his real life. And only 2 years remained until the age in which he died in his past life. The countdown seemed to be closed. The guy remembers friends from the club of black magic. Interestingly, how they do now and whether they mention it. He is sure that the Achitang is still guilty, but he hopes she will find peace because he sincerely enjoy a new life. Smiling, he says, today is a wonderful day. Gizel, which is now 13, has fun to his brother. Her joy is sincere and sunny. Abel says that a new project has recently started, growing plants. They look at the wooden structure on the ground, its new hobby. It shows a totem that grows with magic fertilizers. At first nothing happened, and now it is giant. Gizel is wondering why it is. Abel explains he wants to use the leaves from this totem for the ceremony. Although there are many leaves at home, but these are grown. Even with amazing taste, tradition is a tradition. It adds that the taste of the leaves depends on the growing conditions. Therefore, he decided to plant his own. Gizel sincerely wants it to be delicious. Suddenly, Abel turns to the totem, calling him Mr. Gora. He says lunchtime, as if communicating with a living creature. Giselle asks in surprise why he called him so. Abel is easy, because Mr. Gora is Mr. Gora. He then explains that he reminded him of someone special. The high and thin appearance of the totem caused memories. It was a senpai who helped him create a club of black magic in his previous life. Senpai was an important person because he created a place where Abel finally felt the acceptance. Tears are rolling out of his eyes, but he says it's just dust. Gizel is worried. Suddenly, a mysterious group appears. One of the boys confidently turns to Abel, asking if he is. Abel looks at strangers in surprise and asks with easy confusion, "Who are they?" The voltage increases. Strangers appeared without warning. One of them is boldly ridiculed by Abel, stating that rumors about him are true. He is self-confident, Noswell Karlko. Abel only repeats his name with a confused look. Karlko, no reaction. This disrupts the mask of self-esteem from the face. He is annoyed by such indifference. The faded Karlko sighs with irritation, ignoring it clearly touches it. Departing, Abel mentally confesses. Social interactions are depleted. Even from the Gizel, he prefers to avoid efforts for someone else's approval. Karlko says he came from curiosity and possible advice, but Abel understands that it is not a friendly visit. It is evaluated and analyzed. In silence, he remembers gossip. Those who grow leaves, everyone despise, and now he is convinced the gossip was true. Karl came just because of that. There is no money in the Marin clan. They use leaves instead, and Karl Koss monopolized their cultivation and circulation, so everyone who grows leaves is a competitor. Abel is aware that Karl K is a spy, which was sent for threat to. He decides to hide his true intentions. With an indifferent smile, she says that he just experiments and it's not serious. Seeing only one totem, Karl loses vigilance and begins to think about profit. Although it looks calm, Abel understands it is evaluated, and this information can later be used against it. Suddenly, Noswell suddenly states that he wants to marry the Giselle. Abel is almost out of disgust. The peasants panic. They know how influential and dangerous. They will whisper, "If you get angry, it will have consequences for the whole village." Abel does not understand. Why are everyone so afraid? It turns out that people are rumored that Abel turns enemies into chimera or totem. Noswell tries to deny everything, calling it a delusional, but the fear of people is stronger than his words. They remember speaking totem in Abel's house and victory over the bear. Even without intention, his glory came out of control. Noswell is angry, calls gossip an exaggeration, and states that he could kill a bear magic. Abel is interested in looking at him. He thinks maybe there was a person who is also interested in magic. He is delighted. He believes that a friend could find. But Noswell explodes and demands that Abel came out and introduces seriously. He is a senior heir to Karlko family. Abel tries to keep calm and hold himself in his hands, despite emotional pressure and tension. Abel hopefully thinks that he may have found someone who loves magic too, but immediately he adds that he will definitely not give the rise. To divert attention from the sister, she says she is too shy and begins to talk about magic, totem, and technique, so enthusiastically fascinated that she is frightening. He begins to move away, screams so that Abel does not approach him. But it stumbles and falls directly on it, causing anxiety to the Gisel, which runs away excitedly. The nose is angry, complains of sand in the mouth. Abel is worried and asks if he is not injured, and the carrier himself, meanwhile, disdainfully thinks, "Ordinary fork." But Abel, without noticing the provocations, in passing comments that the nose is not improperly growing a totem. It causes him by surprise. He is confused. The offended carrier insists that he was in study, but it doubts when he hears that Karlko family could not make such a mistake. To prove his right, he shows magic, causes a wind blade in the eyes of all. He releases the spell exactly at the point on the totem that was discussed. This should prove that he is right. Abel is silently watching. A deep footprint remains on the totem. The result impresses but also upsets. The nose begins to laugh, destroying the totem of Abel. Its guards fall on their knees with apology. Abel is silent, but in his eyes inner pain. Subsequently, he remembers the conversation with the carrier, and although he feels depression, he only says, "Well." Giselle, seeing it, is anxiously approaching. Annoyed, Abel decides, now everything will be serious. The scene is transferred to the eastern forest. Shibai appears with complaints, says Abel is unfair to him. He does not like that he was forced to cut totem in the forest. She says Gizel has already gone home. Abel calmly answers he did not hold it, and he orders to work. Shibai is indignant, asks whether Abel wants to destroy the business of Karl Ko. He replies, all for the sake of revenge for Mr. Mountain, and for the benefit of the community. Shibai is shocked by who it is at all. Abel asks why the leaves are so valuable. Shibai replies, because it is difficult to grow, but Abel says it is not true. In fact, everything is controlled by Charles over the market. If the magic source is stable, growing is quite simple, and the elder has long complained about this system. He adds that Rietta's house also grows leaves, but only formally. In fact, Karl is governed by anyone who can provide magic. The elder wants to replace the leaves with magical ore as a local currency. It does not disappear after use and could significantly improve everyday life. Karl Ko House is strongly against the new currency. It will depreciate the leaves, the source of their strength. Abel understands why the elder is conflicting with them, but cannot openly withstand. The guy decides to break the political power of Karl Ko without harming the elder. The plan is simple: to use trees as totem for mass cultivation of magical leaves, using a material called footle. So he will saturate the market and collapse the cost of the leaves of Karl Ko, undermining their control of the village. Shibai shocked: if everything fails, Giselle can make you marry someone from Karl Ko family, especially after the interest of Novi. The imagination of the loss of Giselle causes rage in it. Despite fear, Shibs recharges the determination and shouts, "Let's do it." In the heat, he begins to call Abel Schwagram and promises to create as many totem as needed. It takes a few days. They continuously cut totem in the forest. An unfamiliar observer is suitable and amazed at work. Hiding in the bushes, the group monitors Abel. His anger is obvious, as well as place totem when entering the forest. One suspects that totem is a weapon, but Abel suddenly explodes laughing, knocking everyone out of the panther. Noswell says that these totems are only stuffed, and laughs at those who thought of the attack. Those that are deeper in the forest, to collect leaves. The group mocks the vain, in their opinion, the efforts of Abel. Noswell is convinced that even with perseverance, these totem will not last long. You need too much magic to support them. He begins to suspect that Abel receives help from the elder. His magic is too strong, even the old man recognizes it, but Noswell disdainfully calls him just old. He believes that it is a plot of a student with the teacher, and he orders, "Follow the elder's house to block possible magical support." However, he completely interprets the situation. 2 years ago, Abel defeated the great bear of the forest. Since then he was tirelessly improved in the art of magic. Now he is able to live up to 50 totems at the same time, proof of how strong he has become. It passes for 2 weeks. The totem is covered with leaves. Everyone rejoices. The plan worked. Abel was waiting for the carrier to intervene, but that didn't happen. Victory came easier than they expected. Abel approaches the totem, who called Mr. Gore 2 and 3, and gladly thanks them for their help like real living allies. The harvest is already close. He comments that if the totem is made with love, then the leaves will be of exceptional quality. Meanwhile, people were worn under the house of the elders. They noticed that neither Abel nor the elder came out. Noswell thinks that he may have given up. One of them arrives and reports that he saw only Abel's sister, more than no trace. But suddenly a girl with a wolf appears. She looks at them with distrust and asks what they do under her home. They begin to twist. They say they are looking for Abel. The girl replies in surprise. Abel had not been there for a long time. The wolf begins to growl. Spies fall into panic and run away, apologizing in despair. The angry carrier curses the beast, but if the girl is not lying, Abel does not consult with the elder. Meanwhile, others are mocking. They say all totem has long become firewood. Noswell sways the advantage of Karl Ko family and his leaves. I am sure that no competition is terrible. The girl looks after them, thoughtfully watching everything that is happening. She alarming that the heir Karl Ko is watching her home. She begins to think, what did Abel do so that he made so much attention? She looks at the sky, remembering Abel and everyone around him. The feeling of anxiety increases, because soon his ceremony. But the girl tries to reject these thoughts. This is not my business, he says to himself, deciding not to interfere. In the Balek family, a man is smoking one of the leaves grown. It is amazing the taste. It genuinely praises the product, says that the leaves are just wonderful. The woman is interested in what the peculiarity is. Abel rejoices. The taste was better than expectation. He runs to his assistants, announces that the preparation is completed. It is time to enter the market, just on the day of his ceremony. Abel smiles with a rival with confidence and declares war. He is ready to fight on the market, using only leaves grown on his own. The real battle between him and the house of Karl Ko will start. In the field tent, the man knees before a powerful figure. Meanwhile, the young aristocrat quietly watches everything, lifts a handkerchief to the face, and slowly tightens from a long cradle. Smoke dissolves in silence. The calm landscape of the forest in the background adds a moment of comfort, all tired after long preparations. The guy complains of heavy clothes and asks for help. He's approached by an older man, praising the work done. Seeing how the girl helps the boy, jokes, well, pure newlyweds. Both are embarrassed. The man does not stop, and the wedding when mocks further. the guy Red tries to stop the conversation with annoyance. Suddenly, everyone will find out that the son of a man went to the city market to open his own. There the guy already offers tasting and receives the first client. Even his father, shocked, did not expect the son to go so far. The man tastes the dish and delight in taste. He says he expected worse because of the guy's serious face. The other client adds, "It smells cool, although it is difficult for smoke." Suddenly, Shibai runs in a panic, suffocated. He rushes to Abel with desperate apologies. The camera shows a fussy host market. Shibai explains, "I thought he found a beautiful free place," and began to lay out the pitch. But the other group took even better. In despair, he stops, and suddenly the man says, "This place, on the contrary, wonderful. It lifts everyone's mood." Inspired, the guy exclaims, "We sell until everything goes away." Others are a little confused, but are infected with its energy. One of the audience remembers that this place was empty because everyone avoided conflicts with the influential family of Carl Ko. One guy begins to panic. He says that it is dangerous to sell near Carl, but Abel confidently decides to continue and pulls a shib with him. He explains the place is profitable because the leaves come here. Yes, it's a risk, but the profit is worth it. It takes 10 minutes. Despite all efforts, no one goes to the jam. Everyone begins to be nervous and disappointed. Abel asks Giselle to bring the red and blue totem he created yesterday. The question why, it replies simply, it is a secret weapon, and he already has a plan to attract buyers. The scene comes with a nose, with an arrogant smile. He is amazed that they really have switched to mass production. But I am sure Abel's help was in vain. He decides to investigate who helps the boy behind the scenes. At this point, the first buyer appears. Noswell interrupts and begins to praise the leaves of his family, depreciating Abel's product. Ours is a tradition and sophistication. Abel is rigidly replied by blaming Carl Ko family of dark magic and cheap tricks. Their leaves are bitter, disguised as additives. He demands respect. There is just a buyer here. Noswell only buys one pack, pays a coin, and then throws the leaves on the ground, rushing loudly. It is blunting with their feet until it turns into powder. He returns to the crowd, clearly wants to arrange an even larger scene. He threatens all present. Who will buy Abel will regret. The voltage increases. Abel is already good to explode from anger, but suddenly a Giselle with the promised totem appears. He rejoices, time for counterattack. He explains, red totem for prosperity, blue attracts buyers. Noticing that clients carried dissatisfied with slow service, Abel understands his chance has come. Taste and price on its side, even a few customers can change the game, and most importantly, the secret of totem is not in magic but in another. He says that totem is created on the basis of a happy cat from a book. The magical circle did not work, but the idea seemed interesting. There may be power that current magic does not explain. Inspired by theory, he asks, "Isn't it amazing?" Shibai, shocked, begins to shake it by the shoulders. "Are you okay at all?" he shouts. Gizzle tries to stop this scene when the man suddenly returns. He shares the news. He gave a model to many people, and everyone liked everyone. Asks to sell a large party. There is demand, people ask more. This news strikes and inspires Abel and the team. Finally, a fracture begins in trade. The crowd is assembled to the counter. Everyone praises the aroma, taste, and affordable price of the product. One says now understands how disgusting the previous leaves were. The other adds, only Abelev will smoke. Noswell, stunned, angry, looking at success. And he feels a pleasant aroma and cannot remain indifferent. The effect is obvious. People will massively storm the counter, buying dozens of packs, admiring taste and price. Demand flies up, the crowd requires maintenance. In despair, Noswell tries to threaten customers again. But this time no one responds to the threats. Abel's victory is obvious. The counter buzzes, orders are poured on all sides. Some order 200 packages. Abel asks Giselle to help with the queue and replenishment of stocks. Meanwhile, Noswell burns from rage. His assistant proposes to reduce prices, but he refuses in panic. He does not dare to break the order of his father. The queue grows. One man tries to climb without a queue, but he is quickly put in place. Noswell tries to get quiet, but he is stopped by a mysterious man who praises ominously. At the same time, Abel, not recognizing a stranger, politely asks to turn. The stranger seems to be Norman Carl Ko, is the head of an influential family. The father warn. Abel explains the situation in confusion and shows where his son stands. Seeing his father, the carrier, panic, he is afraid of the consequences of an unexpected visit. Norman laughs loudly, calls Abel a boy with totem. His strange behavior knocks everyone out of the panther. "Totem guy," he exclaims again, causing embarrassment to all present. But suddenly Norman falls to the ground, just in the middle of the crowd. Everyone gets away from shock. Noswell rushes to his father with shouts. He blames Abel of everything, calls him dangerous, and requires responsibility. Blinded in rage, he picks up a dagger and rushes to Abel with a cry that he kills him. Abel instantly orders everyone to get away. Gizzle screams frightenedly, a brother is in danger, and she cannot help. The crowd departs. Abel and Noswell are in the center ready for a serious duel. Gizzle begs the grandfather to intervene, but he just laughs. Both the father and the son are idiots. The old man is sure that his carriage holds herself. In the meantime, Abel is in no hurry to attack. He wants everything to look like self-defense, but internally ready for battle. Noswell begins to create a magical attack, shouts about its strength and importance. Abel is watching hard without reducing vigilance. He notices that the enemy does not encrypt the formula of spell. Everything is too simple. Abel analyzes the structure and prepares to answer. Quickly understands it is a fake spell, and the grandfather comments from the distance. Although Norman was a strong magician, the son is a lady who never studied. He adds that magical artifacts only enhance the available force. If there is no real talent, even the best tool will not help. Noswell tries to attack fiery magic, but the spell is weak and completely uncontrolled. Abel decides to answer seriously. It is confident with the magic of the earth, preparing to complete everything decisively. According to his team, a giant stone structure grows from the ground, all around. The magic is powerful and accurate. A stone figure appears, which moves relentlessly on the nose, demonstrating a tremendous difference in power. Abel enthusiastically controls the creature, calling it Yamasan No. 4. The bulky giant moves forward, the carrier fades in a panic. He does not stand, falls to the ground, is not even able to stand, screams with horror when the statue is approaching. Observers are stunned, commenting that it is by no means a soft answer. Abel is mocking and causing a carrier to attack on either side. Noswell shouts for help, a clay giant nearby. Abel watches alert, suspecting a trap. But when he sees he cry and graves his hands, he does not even know how to react, looks confused. In the end, he understands that Noswell only bluffed. The tension falls, time goes on. It takes 10 days. The conflict remained in the past and a new section ahead. The glory of the fragrant leaves grown by Abel is carried by the village. Carl KO products are falling rapidly. Employees receive freedom. Nevertheless, Abel regrets this family a little. But he meets a girl who passes something on his father's name and begs not to hurt Norman's heart anymore. He notices a carrier and sounds to him. But he should hear his name, he escapes in a panic. Abel sighs. Carl Coven lives easily without working. Hopefully they will change now. He conveys the method of growing leaves of the village leader, believing that he will manage fairly and effectively. Remembering all the events, Abel realizes that he has earned a lot by selling leaves. But its goal changes. He wants to create something more and takes a new project. He feels that it is not a limit. Abel develops a magical tractor to increase the productivity of agriculture in the village where the soil is heavy and the food is expensive. The prototype works but not long. Used ore does not withstand load. There are many more revisions, but it will not stop. Abel continues to improve his magic tractor, who jokingly calls a totem mobile, considering it a kind of totem. While he works, Jaisal watches with a smile, saying that she's just fun to see something he crafts, even in good weather. Abel suggests her, saying why not go to walk with his girlfriends, hinting at their special connection. But the girl replies with a smile, while I am near Nisama, I'm fine. Abel recalls that Jaisal was already 14, and she has always been nearby. It avoids outsiders, helps only the family, but it is happy to be near it. Their connection is only stronger. Realizing that her excessive attachment can be a problem when she grows up, Abel decides to talk to her father, but he joyfully perceives it as a conversation about the leaves and does not realize the true topic. Abel openly says that it is about Jaisal. He is afraid that she will never move away from him. But the father is unexpectedly rejoicing, thinking that it is about marriage, and begins to ask about the ceremony and dates. Everything is not so understood. Abel, in stupor, does not know how to respond to this unexpected answer. He is shocked, hearing that his father refers to his marriage with Jaisal. He tries to realize that he is a sister, but his father does not see anything strange and sincerely surprised by his reaction. Abel, in full shock, learns about the custom of Marin's clan. If there is less than 5 years of difference between his brother and sister, they should marry after the boy's growing up. He shouts about himself, what's the hell? Not believing, he repeats, I married Jaisal, and the father replies simply, and what is it here? It is as if it were the most natural in the world. Abel is increasingly lost in the absurdity. He tries to explain that marriage is a union of different kinds, not blood brothers and sisters. In his memoirs, he sees how everyone in the village has long been perceived as a fact. It is covered by panic. He learns that even his father married his sister, asks if you can marry outside the family at all. But the father is offended and states that it is an important tradition of Marina. The closer the connection is, the more powerful magic children. Abel is shocked by such logic. He explains that he always loved Jaisal as a brother, nothing more. The father, seeing his reaction, recognizes that Abel sincerely hates the idea. But it adds, now Abel is an adult Marina man, so he has to use the situation to grow up. Abel remains without words, confused and depressed by the absurd tradition, which suddenly fell on him. The next morning he wakes concerned. Knowing the father and customs of the village, he is almost sure that the wedding with Jaisal is already being prepared. The idea of marriage causes panic, and he decides it should be stopped at any cost. But does Jaisal know about it at all? Abel was never interested in local traditions. All his attention was on magic. Maybe that's why he didn't know about it, and Jaisal, apparently too. He remembers how Noswell wanted to get married with Jaisal to get him, and Skibby actively cared for her, although she stubbornly ignored him. Abel decides that a sister's brother and sister should not marry. Although Jaisal is strongly attached to him, he is sure she also does not like that idea, decides to join it to persuade everyone to give up marriage together. But enthusiasm disappears when Jaisal is greeted, "Good morning, Namama," and it tenses him well. The girl notices that Abel did not sleep and quarrels him carefully, saying that with his fragile body he should not be overworked, even with elixirs. Abel smiles, trying to hide the excitement. Jaisal asks the first to test transport, and he says he just completed the last setting. Abel explains that he has replaced unstable magic ore with Leto. Now the tractor has to work longer. Jaisal is delighted and asks her to ride her today. But before that, Abel wants to talk to her about an important thing. Warns she is definitely surprised. He carefully says that it is about their possible marriage. Jaisal is first shocked and then shines with happiness. She confesses that she did not expect it to happen so quickly, and even at the initiative of Abel himself, who only became an adult. The guy is confused and does not understand how to react. Deeply moved, Jaisal finally allows himself to confess to feelings. She says that 10 years ago her mother told her one day she would become Abel's wife. Since then, she lived in this dream. Abel in stupor, he expected resistance, not happy consent. It is completely knocked out of the track. Jaisal says that all this time she waited patiently until his heart was ready, and now happy because that day has come. Abel is covered with cold sweat, cannot extract a single logical word, puzzled by its enthusiasm. In despair, he begins to invent an excuse. They say it is necessary to old age, has not yet completed the tractor setting, and just escapes to avoid further conversations about the wedding. Jaisal remains confused, not understanding why he disappeared so suddenly. Jaisal dreamily proposes to arrange a wedding in 3 days. All shines from happiness until he notices how strangely Abel behaves. At first, she thought he was just shy, but now she began to understand. He sincerely does not want this marriage. The father is convinced that though the son is opposed, but still obey traditions. After the ceremony, they say he will settle. Meanwhile, Abel comes to old age and says he wants to discuss the fields with the incense leaves, although he actually has another urgent business. You can see that he is upset and confused, asks a little time to think, postponing a conversation. Then it is isolated in the library, sits directly on the floor and immersed in despair. He remembers that he has never been interested in the traditions of this world because he always lived for the values of his past life and feels alien among the own. Thinking about local culture, he remembers the belief that the souls of the dead become reborn. This world is completely different, and Abel realizes how much he himself breaks out of the local ideas. He preserved memories from his past life, but did not tell anyone about it, fearing misunderstanding. But now the pay for silence has come. He was trapped, he created himself, and he asks himself, will it really be silent acceptance to put everything in place? For the first time, Abel begins not to think about himself, but about Jaisal. She has grown with the idea that marriage with her brother is the norm, but did not all her life limit. She is even closer than he is, and if you leave everything, she may never get closer to anyone. This will only hurt her in the future. While he is so deeply immersed in reflection, one of the totem randomly throws a scroll. Abel lifts it and sees a map of the territory outside the village. He did not suspect that such a thing exists at all. And he makes the decision to escape from the village. He believes that his disappearance will make the family abandon the idea, and Jaisal will finally begin to communicate with others. He collects books totem, looks like he lends them temporarily, but he has firmly decided he runs out forever. On the way, Abel runs into a file that suddenly welcomes him with a future wedding. He nodding quickly, not having an explanation, feeling guilty that he cannot tell the truth. Hearing that his father has already spread news throughout the village, Abel begins to panic. The file confirms she saw how he was in front of everyone. He is driven into a corner. He understands it is necessary to run immediately, otherwise it will be too late. Quickly thanks the file for everything, says goodbye and rushes on. She remains embarrassed by his words. The head is spinning as if it were a farewell forever. A little later, Abel returned home with books and totems, as if nothing had happened. He rises upwards, stating that she closes in the research room and asks him not to bother. It adds to the right in fashionable leaves. The father tries to talk, but waves his hand, mutilating something about his stubborn son, and goes away. Jaisal, having learned that he closed, continues to prepare for the wedding. Meanwhile, Abel with his head immersed in books and records. She knocks on the door, bringing food, but he nervously refuses, they say, already ate old age and is in a hurry. Jaisal is worried, asks not to strain, because he has poor health, and reminds not to fall from exhaustion. Abel is aware of, promises to be kept, and apologizes for excitement, trying to finish the conversation faster. As soon as she goes, he sighs with relief, then takes a pen and writes a letter, in which he says that he leaves the village and returns only when Jaisal marries someone else, or when he finds someone himself. Leaving the letter at night, left the house at night, activates totem in simple words, carry me. Under the cover of the darkness, Abel disappears, carrying things, and totem silently follow him, ready to help flee as far as possible. He recalls how he escaped from home as a child, and understands, this time, probably last. Finally approaches his magical totem tractor. With the light command, Abel activates his magic tractor, starts surgery, totes immediately take things and carry them to the car. When the tractor moves the road, Abel thinks that Jaisal will probably be angry. He does not know whether they will be allowed to return, because the members of the clan Marin have the right to leave the village only with the permission of the elder. Without this permission, he is threatened with exile. There is a rumor in the head, those who run without permission always regret it. During the journey, he cries quietly, sadly missing the separation. He dreams that once, when Jaisal has a family, he will at least be able to watch her happiness, tired, falling asleep in a totem tractor. At dawn, he wakes up, stretches and yawns, preparing for a new adventure day. Looks at the map trying to navigate. It seems to him that the lake should appear soon. In the imagination, the city of Lammer is a center of lively trading and exchange, where you can find foreign things and rare information. Abel is delighted. He hopes to find magical artifacts that were not in his village. Everything seems exciting. The smile does not get out of his face. Suddenly, something strange happens. The tractor begins to tremble. He is knocked down from the panthel, hears a blow and shouts from pain, not understanding what is happening. Meanwhile, the father is crazy, learning that the son disappeared without warning. Shouts angry, Abel did not even leave the letter. The mother is trying to reassure him, maybe the son just went to test a new tractor. Jaisal suggests that he has not left the note because he plans to return quickly. Jaisal looks calm. He says, if the sun does not return to the sunset, they will ask the elder to organize searches. But yet, you should not panic. Despite her father's fear, she smiles, believing that everything will be fine. But at the same time, she squeezes a pendant, which Abel always carried with him. Despite calm words, she is also deeply excited. However, he keeps faith in his brother. He says confidently that he will solve everything and find his way. At this point, Abel imagines her words. They inspire him while he watches the Basar closely. Suddenly, he notices the strange. The oar's oar was replaced by emict, in appearance forced. It is alarming him. Who could arrange this? He thinks because only Jaisal knew about problems with oar. And if the replacement with emict caused a failure, then the caring voice of Jaisal, who asked not to be fainting, reappears in his head. Looking at the map, the guy understands that the path to Illum on foot is almost suicide, but at the same time, it is not quite impossible. He is tormented by another question, why Jaisal? I decided to act so carefully. If she knew about his escape, she could choose more effective ways to stop it. He does not understand her true intentions. Further, thoughts are transferred to the rules of the clan, a repeated escape for the one who has already been caught, equivalent to the crime. He may have crossed the border. He is scared to imagine that Jaisal planned everything in advance, and her father will simply attach him to the village through marriage. He does not want to believe it, but begins to lose resistance. If it returns, it will lose motivation. There is nothing to study in the village. The idea of forced marriage is further depressed, but ahead is an unknown world full of magic and chances. Cracking with tears, he thinks that the entire magic road can break off if it breaks under pressure of fate. He does not want to humbly live trapped, giving up his dream. Sitting the edge of the road, fights with him, desperately trying to gather. And here the girl approaches him worried with warm eyes. He asks if everything is fine with him. He looks around, notices a horse with a horse, and rapidly rushes to him, full of hope. Upon learning that the cart goes to the loom, the young man's heart is filled with joy. Having received permission to join, he celebrates in silence. The escape succeeded. He can hide in the luggage compartment and not return to the village. While the cart is moving, one from the crowd notices his hair and eyes, recognizing the fugitive. Meanwhile on the road, the guy says that he escaped after a family quarrel. The driver guesses that he is from the Marin clan, and the girl says she did the same. The guy thought at first they were a couple, but the girl explains that James came to her village as a merchant, and she asked him after a lacrimal request. They are familiar. Only a week, the guy feels affinity with Maya, realizing that she could not accept the traditions of her native land. It turns out from the clan of Doom, and the absence of a magical crystal on the forehead is a great defect. The guy learns that her family is a serious problem. The members of the clan are usually two horns and crystal on the forehead, but Maya lost her in the womb when her mother fell, and although the crystals are not recovering, she was born without him. And since childhood she suffered from neglect, she was nicknamed Kamina. The guy is surprised that the crystal can just take off like a shell. He sees the Maya, though jokes, carries a difficult past. She shares that even her mother was ashamed of her, screaming at her because of the lack of crystal, before fleeing from home. Maya stole her mother's nurture, calling it compensation for the years of humiliation, but even all that money is not able to smooth the pain she experienced, and yet, smiling, goes on a journey. She gladly tells how to explore the world with James, but the carefree atmosphere is instantly changing. The guy notices something strange in the distance. Looking at, he recognizes creatures. These are the magical beasts of Garma. They attack rapidly, throwing everyone into panic. James tries to act quickly until the guy thinks about whether a kind of dog is. Meanwhile, the explanation sounds. Magical beasts are rare creatures that arise through the coincidence of magical forces. Their appearance while traveling is a real disaster, and Garma is just such a danger. Maya in hysterics pleads James flee faster. The guy recalls that Class D or higher should be reported immediately. After all, only bears should be in the region. James proposes to throw luggage to distract the attackers, all in despair. The guy confesses that he has a dog named Laps at home and does not understand why Maya is so afraid. In a panic, James asks if the guy knows how to spell. He is from the Marin clan. He is reluctant to confess that he knows a little and agrees to help. James asks to release the maximum of magic to frighten the beasts, but the guy thinks whether it is better to capture or destroy them so that they do not threaten others. Under the pressure of all, it begins to create an earthly spell, concentrating force. A giant stone pillar grows from the ground, which throws Garma into the air. The explosion causes animals to retreat with pain. The cart continues the way forward. The guy lifts a huge statue of a creature stone. He is amazed to the satellites, calmly asks whether that is enough. Meyer is stunned, says that in the Marin clan all are crazy. After danger, the group quietly goes on. They stop relaxing, feed the horse, and spread the camp. The next morning, James points to the distance. Something appeared on the horizon. Meyer and Guy are delighted ahead of the city. Finally, they appear Lamarn, a city enclosed by walls and towers. The road is coming to an end. A new section in the guy's life is ahead. But the joy of Maya is quickly changing panic. She learns that they will have to divorce, does not understand why. James explains that as a merchant should go his way, he simply did not mention it before. The guy says they are unlikely to be useful in his work. Maya, though upset, tries to accept it. The guy thanks James for the trip, and he says that it would be much harder without him. But suddenly, Maya falls on the idea. She wants to buy all James' goods, all wheat, so that he has nothing to sell and stay with them. The guy does not understand her plans. Abel does not understand why Maya is so much wheat, but the girl insists he should not leave her. She says there is much more to learn, especially magic. Abel, without other plans, agrees to stay sideways. Maya rejoices and asks her to teach her magical runes and advanced techniques to keep him near her. Abel decides to stay. After all, he does not know anyone in this city. Maya sincerely rejoices and says that he now counts on him. She even proposes to spend all her money with him, but Abel, embarrassing, advises her to postpone them on a rainy day. He begins to doubt deeply in his soul whether everyone is fine with Maya. They walk a city that buzzes in life and is radically different from its village. A fair full of goods and noise fascinates it, but suddenly something attracts attention. Abel fades. Maya, intrigued, runs after him. He enters the Chimer Tale magic artifacts and immediately notices a thing that fascinates his gaze. The saleswoman in the hat of the witch praises his care. This item has not been noticed before, but Abel immediately recognizes. It's a world tree branch, the woman confirms, explaining that it is not a regular fragment, but a rare part of a mythical tree. This legendary tree grows in the center of the magical forest, is protected by monsters and radiates powerful power. Only one of 4 seekers survived, bringing it 5 years ago. Abel studies the branch, and even through the barrier, he feels the leakage of magical energy. The woman tells how the adventurer was escaped, an escape after creating an illusion for animals. Stuffed by the power of the stream, Abel says that an incredible totem would come out of this branch. The saleswoman is surprised by his knowledge, and Maya jumps from admiration. A woman shows another rare artifact, a unicorn blood. Abel is shocked and even more amazed, learning that it was obtained during a magical anomaly, when the unicorns appeared uncontrollably in a panic. Imaging a totem created from the blood of a unicorn and a branch of the world tree, he understands it would be a legendary thing. But the price of both artifacts, 210, stains it. It is completely embarrassed. Abel has almost no money left. In addition, it will not be possible to sell the leaves of the incense, which he brought. In the kingdom of Dinler it is banned. While he is desperate, Maya quietly sets out a heavy bag with coins on the counter and asks if it is enough. Even the saleswoman cannot hide surprise. Abel is shocked even harder. Maya is ready to pay all the money without hesitation, but Abel cannot accept that amount. The girl insists once he wants this artifact, she will buy it for him, a seller inspired by a quick deal. Even reduces the price to 2 million gold, calling it a favorable offer. Abelia shocks even more. It seems to him an unfair equipment, but Maya does not mind spending everything. The saleswoman emphasizes that artifacts of such a level as a branch of the world tree is an extraordinary rarity. Abel is numb from everything that is happening. Subsequently, in a new place, Maya is happy to rush to a soft futon and rejoices in the beginning of a new stage in their journey. Abel, with a slight smile, realizes that she even paid him with a home, but despite this, it is serious. The saleswoman warns that if Abel is able to strengthen the branch in the final artifact, she is ready to redeem it back at a double price. It all depends on it. Maya, happy for the first time, sleeps in bed, is under a blanket, and Abel is considering a branch with a serious look. He perceives it as a serious investment. In his heart, a plan is born to create the best totem in the world, and thanks to this, Maya, even earn money. Finally, the work is completed. Before him is a perfect totem that he is genuinely proud of. If it is possible to fully master its strength, he will be able to do almost everything. The plan moves properly. Abel is almost one step closer to repay the debt, but after a sleepless night, he is nauseous, he feels weak, wants to drink herbs, and falls without consciousness. The Maya lying side by side screams his name, seeing him fainted. Abel comes to consciousness in a familiar coma. He recognizes the warehouse in his home and recalls that the truck broke. But something is wrong. It sharply picks up and screams. The feeling of absurdity overflows it. Giselle enters the room, smiling and saying that she locked him again, that he would not do some nonsense. Abel in shock. He looks at her, not understanding how he was here, and Giselle slowly removes his claw. And with a smile, he asks him no longer to do such risky things. Abel tries to understand what is happening and begins to suspect that she perceives his escape as a simple experiment. But very quickly understands something is not true here. Everything is too strange, and it comes to the alarming conclusion. It is not just a confusion. Abel realizes that Giselle could spoil the truck because it was she who knew about his escape. And yet, only wives are prepared in the Marin clan. If he eats food, there will be no gate. He bows his head, apologizing for the escape without words. He says he could not otherwise, did not have the spirit to tell the truth. Abel confesses that he always felt different in the Marin clan. His thoughts are opposite, though it is difficult to explain. Giselle listens silently. And suddenly, he says in a calm voice that he understands him. Abel is surprised by such a reaction. She asks at least to drink water because he has to take care of himself. He agrees, noticing her sincere excitement. But the ominous smile on Giselle's face appears suddenly. She says she understands everything. Abel does not have time to grasp her words as she apologizes and puts his knife in his stomach. It falls, breathing in pain. Giselle immediately heals the wound with magic, saying calmly, as if it were planned, Abel suffers. The new blow makes him scream again. he realizes that he cannot move his tongue. There was something in the water. Giselle gently holds him and whispers that all is well, even if he can no longer walk. Abel is shocked. All this was a trap. If so goes on, it can permanently lose the ability to move. But though it hurts, he seeks at least some magic, at least some way out. And suddenly wakes up, falls out of bed. Magical circles shine around. Maya runs to him. He finally came to his senses, but he immediately asks why he mashed the spell in a dream. Abel does not understand anything. He is shocked because he realizes that he created this huge circle in a dream. It is too complicated, and he is afraid of his own talent. Maya asks to remove the circle immediately because it can destroy everything. Abel confesses that he saw a terrible dream. And inadvertently in a dream, he almost destroyed everything around. Maya in shock, what dream could cause it? But Abel does not want to remember. She touches his forehead. The temperature slept. Abel asks how much he was without his mind. Maya says 1.5 days, and she was very worried. He thanks for his care and wants to thank somehow. Maya is happy that she was useful and Abel smiles. Then he remembers if he sells his totem, he will earn well. But it is difficult to dare. It is emotionally tied to creation. Maya notices it and says that he has sacrificed an artifact to him, so he has every right to decide himself. But Abel is still awkward. Maya is a little confused, but he agrees, if so goes, even the cost of living will be on it. She mentions the Adventure Support Center, where you can exchange magical animals for money. This option is great for strong as Abel. He likes this idea, and they decide to visit the next day. Meanwhile, after Abel continued his journey to Lamaru, the head of the village Marin sent a search group. They found a truck. Thanks to magical inscriptions, it became clear where he was heading. The search was temporarily rolled up. Giselle was convinced that he would come back, but that didn't happen. Since then, she has shielded from the world, living in loneliness. Constantly thinking about Abel, she plunges into longing. One of the men's men goes quietly and watches the depression. Giselle looks at the gift that she gave Abel and asks himself why he has not returned yet. She tries to pretend that he is not worried, but the anger takes the mountain. Her hand with anger hit the table. She shouts that not angry, but inadvertently breaks the gift. The father, who watched through the door, sighs silently, and a mysterious shadow appears from the window. While Abel smiles somewhere far away, Giselle remains with a cold look, squeezing a dagger in his hand. An unfamiliar voice whispers, "You need to act to conquer this guy." Meanwhile, Abel and Maya are arriving at the Adventure Support Center. The atmosphere is a lively and full movement. Abel is wondered if Maya knows how to spell, but he says that a little is enough to cope with several magical beasts. She adds that her clan did not approve of magic. Abel realizes that it is better not to develop this topic. They approach the rack. As peasants, they ask to explain how everything works here. Abel is given an adventure card. It is registered under the name of Montan, just on the whim, because it sounds cool. They explain that the center helps to destroy magical creatures, supports newcomers and seeks talents. Ranks from F to A, depending on the achievements. It only requires a card. Higher ranks give privileges, even the opportunity to work for the kingdom. But Abel does not seek advancement. He is afraid of restrictions. He says he enjoys the benefits of his savior, Mr. Mountain, whose name he pointed. Abel invents the story of how Mountain saved him, instantly destroying his enemies and healing it. Maya is amazed. In her imagination, this man seems like a legend. In fact, Abel called himself Mountain in honor of the legendary online game player in his last world. Ironically smiling, he remembers it. But Maya is convinced that it is a great hero of the Marina family and is even more fond of him. After completing the registration in the center, Abel with Maya discusses where they will hunt, but their conversation unexpectedly interrupts a new character. Old friction breaks between this newcomer and an adventurer named Mason, the voltage in the air, even in spite of the rapid apology. The situation comes to the fact that they leave the group, shocking everyone. But two girls, Lisa and one more, confess to him in feelings and want to join him. Maya, with enthusiasm, is watching this romantic moment as if it were most important than everything else. Abel is confused, does not understand why Maya is focused on this when so much strange. He even tries to cool her. At this point, the excited adventurer runs to them and proposes to create a team. He calls himself a leader, boasts that has expelled the weak, and promises to take on all the expenses. But Abel refuses without hesitation. They are so good. When traveling on a cart, they are questioned about the hunting place. The adventurer explains that these are the ruins of Zima, where protective barriers have recently disappeared. Because of this, the monster began to penetrate inside, tearing the course of archaeological research. The group arrives. The ruins belong to the city of Styam, the ancient elven settlement. Once upon a time, expelled from the heavenly Ulfheim, the elves ran here from the persecution of the Norks clan. They built the fortress, and later left only the ruins. Now Abel and the team are going to search for treasure. On the road, they mention the legend of the Arrow of God, the elfic artifact, although only valuable magic stones are likely to find. These stones once supported protective barriers and of great value. In addition, they are waiting for hunting magical creatures. For the team, it is a mission with double reward and minimal risk. The young man who invited them boasts that he has almost reached the rank of E and already considers himself the leader of the group. Abel and Maya are surprised, but they accept it because he pays. The mysterious figure is watching the ruins from afar. She notices something unusual, as if the ruins are not so empty. Abel's group approach is stopped by guards from a researcher's team. The team leader is annoying. The group leader begins to complain about the arrogance of the guards, who, they say, only pawns in the service of some lord. Maya notes that it is difficult to deal with them. Guardians are clearly clear. The strangers are prohibited from entrance. Abel agrees, they say, even the look is worth the effort. He understands why the information has not reached the center. Everything is kept secret and influential lord. One of the boys accepts the situation, saying that the place is well guarded, but the third participant rebels, wonder if they will seem so easily. At this point there is an explosion, the flame aura rolled through the forest. Maya shudders, thinking it is a magical beast. Instead of fleeing, the most thrilling of them is enthusiastically pulling the sword, considering it the perfect opportunity to prove yourself. Despite the fact that it is only on the verge of rank E, it fearlessly rushes towards danger, seeking to prove his skill. The passionate adventurer rushes to the attack, and with a scope he sits on a magical beast. A few blows hit the target, and he knocks the enemy off his feet. Triumphantly celebrates the victory. I am convinced that everything has passed easily, while others are watching less impressed. But joy does not last long. The rick of the fallen monster attracts 3 of his brothers. The winner in shock, now he was surrounded by even more dangerous enemies. He tries to maintain a fighting appearance, theatrically accepts the battle, but unexpectedly throws the sword into the air and escapes. Abel and Maya, in surprise, do not understand where his heroic ambitions went. Flowing, he shouts that enemies are distracting and others should escape, neither a trace of his skill with a sword. However, after a few steps, it stumbles and falls into the ground. Abel is silently watching, calmly chewing a toothpick. With cold determination activates the fiery spell. A powerful explosion destroys enemies and all around, not touching it or Maya. After the explosion, the adventurer lies on the ground, shocked, not understanding what happened at all. Abel arrives with a rod in his hand and calmly asks if everything is fine with him. The man was stunned. He did not even realize when he was rescued. Seeing the overthrown monsters, she thanked them for their salvation. Abel and Maya approach silently as he tries to gather and at least say something. Inside, the group again arises about leadership, but Abel calmly states that he is indifferent, let the other remain the main. At this time, a mysterious figure is observed from afar, noticing the characteristic features: white hair, red eyes, and strange magical circles. A serious man who clearly understands magic studies Abel. Seeing the appearance of the boy, he concludes, the one from the Marin clan. His view testifies, he knows something about this clan. The man is approaching and directly asking whether the Marin's clan is these young travelers. The boys are confused. A stranger seems like an elf, but who he is, no one understands. Elf carefully examines the staff in the hands of Abel and immediately reveals its properties. He enhances control over magic and attracts spirits. The young man is affected by the accuracy of the analysis. The elf asks why the design does not correspond to the classic theories. Abel confesses the staff was an experiment, and he did not deliberately added the functions of enhancing magic. The elf nods, they say, confident. The guards who ask the elf to return unexpectedly appear. One of the boys recognizes the group and is surprised. The elf seems to be his name Abelhade. He belongs to the elven race and is engaged in the study of ruins to better know the history of his people. He invites the young people to help him in theism for the possibility of escort. If they show good results, the reward will personally agree with the local lord. The boys are excited. Abelhade turns to Abel with a slight mocking tone, hinting that he looks much more useful than another magician named Wagner. The next day, they reach the ancient building. Some of the group ask if Abelhade was destroyed by the protective barrier. He confirms, after years of research, he himself removed the protection, but his forces were limited, so I had to seek support from the local lord. Considering the ruins, Abel realizes that at first Abelhade worked on his own, but only subsequently attracted extraneous assistance. Analyzing the walls, it notices unusual ore in the structure and suggests that it is due to protective seals. The elf suspiciously asks if the guy does not try to deceive him with veiled wording. Abel immediately denies. It was not deliberate. Abelhade shakes his head. They say, "You can hold protection well." Meanwhile, other young men whisper as the elf is changing the mood. He was fierce yesterday and almost kicked everyone, and today, calm and restrained. Abel studies the walls carefully, considering the scale of the work that is waiting for them. The thick and angry man is outraged loudly. He says he cannot keep up with the methods of Abelhade, complains of lack of progress, and complains that he is forced to follow the elf. He also does not like that some stranger joined the expedition. The protagonist watches in surprise, thinking, who is this grunt? The girl explains that the symbols on the walls serve only to preserve the seals. Their analysis will not help break the barrier. The formula should be somewhere else. The young man agrees that the structure of the seals is similar to the one used in the pig clan, although it looks different. The fat man in fury again. He is annoying that the guy draws conclusions so quickly, but Abelhade praises the young man for a good remark. The magician grows, combining surprise with the image. Abelhade, with cold calm, notes that he was only a magician and the level of his knowledge is ridiculous. An angry man begins to throw hated looks at the young man. He, although he is embarrassed, still thanks, though he feels internally that this aggression presses on him. The group reaches the majestic hall, in the center of which is the statue of the griffin. Abelhade explains, this is the nucleus of the seal, its amplifier. This place is considered the heart of the whole magical formula. The young man considers the structure with enthusiasm. He sees a complex barrier, a multi-level magical system with several layers. If you destroy it, the path will be open. Looking at, the guy notices that one of the layers is not connected properly. It is a triple seal, one part of which is fake and serves as a bait. Abelhade demonstrates the guy his own detailed records. The young man is delighted with the accuracy of formulas and depth of analysis. Other members of the expedition understand almost nothing. Some are already yawning from boredom. After analyzing the barrier, the guy understands it will be too much to break him. He is looking for a different approach, realizing the complexity of the problem. He proposes to destroy the statue with magic, but Abelhade only laughs. They say it requires an infinite source of strength. The young man agrees, even if possible, the destruction of the artifact will reduce the reward. Abelhade, with a sarcastic smile, praises for courage. At the moment when the guy considers the complex seal and suggests that the treasure may be hidden behind her. Ruins suddenly attack hobgoblins. Abelhade instantly warns everyone. The young man is preparing for battle. A horde of enemies is united around, shocking the whole group. Abelhade realizes that the enemies were hiding in the forest, waiting for the right moment. The situation becomes critical. There are too many hobgoblins. One of the men tries to organize the way to escape, and the other panic, fearing that he will be left behind. The dissatisfied magician falls into hysterics and demands protection, causing condemnation. How did such a guarantee force lord take him? Ignoring the chaos, Abelhade goes forward, activates the spell of the Ring of Light, and states that it will make the enemies regret the attack. Following, he launches a powerful magical stroke that covers several hobgoblins. Abelhade takes command, forms protection, orders others to follow it. His plan is to destroy half of the enemies, forcing the rest to retreat. Everyone is strongly following him. The protagonist watches him with surprise, thinking that at such a pace he does not even have to show his own skills. But suddenly he is enthusiastically asked to catch 3 hobgoblins alive, surprising all in the middle of the battle. He explains that he wants to use them to remove magical seal. Abelhade, although surprised, specifies whether there were only 3 without being eager. With confidence in the voice, Abelhade activates magic and states that catching 3 hobgoblins is a minute. It passes 20 minutes, and the plan is fulfilled exactly as they asked. Exhausted allies deliver 3 living hobgoblins, glad that they did not have to kill them. The guy with enthusiasm thanks. One of the girls is terrified at the sight of monsters, but the hero reassures he paralyzed them with magic, and they will not move for another 92 days, which causes interest in his plan. The guy explains, to remove the ancient seal, the magic of a special beast is required, but the seal of more than 2,000 is perhaps this creature has already extinct. He offers an alternative to use the magical energy of hobgoblins by transforming it through biomoja. It is a technique that changes the body, redirecting internal magical energy. If all 3 are similar, the plan should work. Abelhade is amazed and recognizes, I didn't even think about this opportunity, but it is quite real. He praises the young man for ingenuity. He thanks, explaining that this idea appeared thanks to Abelhade's notes, but it adds success is not guaranteed because you need to change the organic structure of monsters with magic stones. Abelhade smiles and announces that he has the highest quality stones, immediately orders to bring them. The young man is amazed. He is handed to the magical stone of the royal class. One of the allies explains that these stones were assembled specifically to support Abelhade's research. Half of the magical stones were personally provided by Lord. The protagonist is unable to hide the admiration of their glow. Eyes are burning from excitement. With such artifacts, defeat is impossible. The guy warns that he will start now, so those who with weak nerves are better not to look. Me tries to make a joke, but instantly cures the horror, seeing the disgusting scene. During the ritual, the hero notices the flow of magic with bird traces. He remembers the wings of a creature named Croa. Others only shudder, it's awful. Some whisper that he looks like a demon, although they have recently killed goblins without regret. The young man, surprised by this hypocrisy, continues until the statue begins to glow. Everything is ready. He finishes the ritual and says confidently, "It's time." Abelhade gives him the last step. The guy utters the keyword, assimilation. Abelhade silently watches, recognizing his skill. The seal flashes, magical circles twist around the statue. Paralyzed hobgoblins shudder, and a dark fog slowly spreads around. The hero is happily screaming that everything works. Others watch the muscle and trembling of the earth. He even begins to turn to the goblins by name, shocking satellites with his attachment. The seal explodes with light, the door opens. The young man is delighted victory. The barrier is removed. The group celebrates and prepares to explore the depths of the ruins, but the earth begins to tremble. Me noticed how the stone rolls to her feet. Abelhade immediately orders everyone to retreat from the statue. The statue cracks with a crack. A figure covered with black feathers emerges from the inside. A powerful voice curses the elves, stating that he was in the seal of 2000. The creature calls itself a king. All stunned, they release something much more scary than they thought. The true shape of the monster impresses. A giant creature with bird features is creepy. Eyes are burning rage. He promises to sacrifice everyone for revenge. The battle begins. Panic covers adventurers. The main character in hysterics sees how the giant rises from the ruins. In despair, he sounds hobgoblins as if he were his pets. Me tries to stop it. Abelhade confesses that he was also going to tame the monsters. Chaos grows. Abelhade takes control. It orders not to stand in front of the creature and surround it from all sides, while they still have a numerical advantage. Abelhade imposes a light lingering spell, trying to clamp the monster, but the creature with the power of tears magical shades, it is not to restrain it so easily. The monster with a frantic rage punches the soldier's shield and scatters the other with one blow. One of the warriors tries to answer, and before the power of the beast is in vain, the panic group recedes. Abel is ordered to beat on the wings. Seeing the brothers of Gob in the blood, he is angry with the counterattack. It is concentrated by the magic of the wind, creating the blade of the elements to destroy the enemy. The monster only mocks this attempt, considering Abel a fool, but he suddenly recognizes spiritual magic, extremely rare power, and instantly changes the strategy. The beast mocks the sorcerer, they say. The wind magic against him is funny. Abel with a late awareness screams. By ordering to shoot immediately, even realizing that their plan is threatened. It becomes clear that only the highest level demons and animals can perceive the language of spirits. This also explains the magical resistance of the griffin. Abel realizes that griffins are closely related to the spirits of the wind, so the attacks of its elements are powerless. The beast looks at him contemptuously. Even the spell of the wind is useless. The spiritual affinity absorbs its effect. Griffin is roaring and preparing to answer, but Abel suddenly shouts, "Shoot." The spell involves directly into the body of the monster. Griffin is written in pain. It shocks everyone. Allies see a chance and prepare for the offensive. When the beast is weakened, Abel orders to attack full force. Everyone rushes into battle. Me is amazed by his determination. Some of the allies whisper that Abel is not so frightening, and the senior magician watches closely at him. Abel touches the magical circle and says the command, "Open." The land shudders. The senior magic confirms the passage to the sealed area is open. While others are celebrating, the old sorcerer is silently watching cold focus. One of the men brazenly goes forward, stating that he will now lead the next phase and take away the legendary treasures. Abel is stunned. This man did not move his finger. The bizarre sound erupts the silence of the corridors. The crowd of giant rats unexpectedly breaks into the zone. In the middle of the chaos, Sufi is mentioned, and the me is in panic. Abel guesses that the rats have attracted the smell of killed magical animals. While new enemies appear, one of the swordsmen is too enthusiastically fascinated by the attack, wanting to sway. Abel observes irony. 30 minutes have passed the grueling fight against goblins, agriphants, and rats. Everyone is barely holding on their feet, but the magician orders to move on. Exhausted travelers begging for a break. Despite doubt, the chief maid recognizes fatigue and agrees. They decide to block the corridor from where monsters came from to examine the terrain later. Abel assumes that everything is fine and recognizes magic is normal, but the body does not stand. The group unanimously decides to take a break. The main magician supports the decision and orders everyone to relax. The next study is in the morning. At night, Abel stays on his feet, reading. He is approached by a senior magician, surprised that he is still not sleeping. Abel explains that he has shot a little and drank homemade potion, not to fall asleep and better focus. The magician warns that such infusions are forbidden almost everywhere, and the biomagia used by Abel is generally licensed and limited. Shocked, the guy realizes how unusual his village was. The magician explains that the world has strict laws, but promises to take responsibility for the guy if something happens, and advises to erase any traces of participation in the case with the griffin. Abel thanks, though he does not yet understand why he is so good. Under the moonlight, the magician confesses that he has been living for 300 years and has been studying the ruins of the gifts all this time. The false analysis delayed the path, and he has no heirs. Interested, Abel asks why he joined their group. The magician in response to the benefit of Abel's satellites, calling them in vain. Abel confesses that they are weak in battle and have mutual support. It gives magic, and they resources and emotional resistance because he just left his native village. Before bedtime, the magician advises Abel to relax, because the next day they are waiting for a new stage in the ruins. The guy replies, "Good night." Abel did not expect that the magician would turn to him with such words. He was waiting for great achievements from him. The thoughtful sorcerer silently goes to the dark cave, leaving the group behind. The next day, the team comes across a room filled with high-quality magic stones. Abel is amazed by the number of royal stones and guesses that they had nourished protective barriers. The magician commented that the inheritance of elves has been sincerely admired since the time of the 2 years ago. His words are confirmed. The elves' artifacts still retain incredible power. Fascinated by the finds, Abel begins to fantasize that somewhere there may be even more valuable treasures. Until others are surprised, the old magician calmly approaches the pedestal and activates the magic seal, revealing what is more valuable than any stones. The group enters a long corridor, decorated with huge statues. Abel notices it is not just sculptures but sleeping golems. The magician smiles mysteriously, hinting that these giants will come to life. Going to the altar, the old man begins the spell. Fire forms spheres. The interested Abel watches, and suddenly magic is activated. Everything indicates that something unpredictable will happen. The unexpectedly Abelhade himself imposes a powerful spell, surprising everyone. Abel is trying to understand what is happening. The old man is approvingly responded. Abelu managed to disrupt the magical formula, which is only the best among the high elves. Finally, Abelhade reveals the true purpose of his appearance. He seeks to regain the legendary arrow of God, who, he said, is too powerful for minks and belongs only to the descendants of Zeshem. Abel notices the threatening determination in the voice of the elf, which makes him alert. Hearing that Abelhade is a direct descendant of Zeshem, Abel is shocked. This truth changes everything, especially since the enemy is awakened by the golem. Abelhade says that their people were defeated in the Crusader and was expelled from the celestial country. The magic of the moon almost reaches the earth, which is why the physical strength and ability to reproduce disappear, and externally they seem much older. Abelhade proudly states that the ideals and inheritance of his ancestors will never deny. It reveals the truth. The fortress was built to conquer the mink and the overthrow of the heavenly kingdom, all for the return of the throne by the Brusham. The group is amazed. The words of Abelhade contradict the well-known history. It turns out that not the minks were chasing the elves, but the Zeshi themselves solved the war. Abelhade confesses, the king of Zeshiv in the past made a fatal mistake. He fell in love with the daughter of minks. Due to the betrayal, the fortress was sealed with a barrier. Memories are raging in it. Mixing noble blood with sparse with short-lived minks is an insult that has no forgiveness. He blames the king of treason, murder of ancestors, and falsification of history that should preserve the truth. Then he adds that the golems around is a weapon created through the advanced techniques of the people of the people. Others stand in silence, strained by the truth. Abelhade states that now, when the arrow of God is in his hands, Lord warriors are no longer needed. He always knew that she was hidden here. It is a weapon created to destroy the celestial country, the most valuable treasure in the world, and it already belongs to him. His goal is to conquer both the sky and the earth, gathering all the magical stones. To shoot the arrow, you need huge energy, and it already has enough for 3 shots. Abel is stunned by the scale of the design. So many stones were collected not just. He tries to understand why he was discovered this secret. But Abelhade suddenly addresses him with a proposal, wants to see Abel with his right hand. He recognizes his strength, and if Abel becomes an ally, he will receive half the world. Everyone around is shocked from such a turn. He extends his hand with confidence in the look, waiting for the answer. Abel is hesitant, confused, not knowing how to react. The girl nearby exclaims his name, frightened that he can agree to this temptation. But Abel strongly refuses. He says he would not hear anything. Abelhade turns away, keeping proud posture. He recognizes Abel's talent, but calls him a child and regrets that he will have to fight him. Then activates the magic miasma of the sleeping forest. The dark aura slowly envelops his body, causing anxiety. Abel and other affected. Smoke clots begin to stretch the field. Abel reacts instantly, activates magic, and teleports his doll, shouting. Move. At the same time, he orders Mia and Meeson to approach the world tree. A new threat is emerging. Abel activates the new ability of her doll, orders her to absorb the poisonous fog, while defending Ian Meeson, who began to lose consciousness. The doll creates a powerful whirlwind and quickly sucks the entire dark haze around. But in a moment, all allies fall unconscious. Abel, barely holding on his feet, carries in the arms of exhausted. Abelhade, despite his wounds, does not seem. He stands proudly and laughs at an unsuccessful attempt to resist him. Calmly responding, Abel states that in this situation he cannot lose, and he lasts to give up, warning that he does not hold back the strength for too long. At this time, everyone looks at tensely with fear. Abelhade acknowledges that he would lose in other conditions, but he still has a trump card. He publishes the team, and one of the Gallets awakens, rising above the ground. The giant is ready for orders. Mag calls him a soldier Zeshima, a white giant destruction. He orders Abel to accept his fate of the hero of the Renaissance and die. A ghoul with frantic force breaks forward. Everyone runs out, trying to avoid the attacks of the monster. Panic covers Abel's allies, but he retains calm, watches the movements of the golem, and analyzes his behavior. Then, unexpectedly for everyone, Abel reproduces the Abelhade command and activates his own golem. Abelhade in shock. He does not believe that the guy was able to decipher the activation formula. Abel explains that understanding came after the barrier analysis. He was able to solve the head of the golem, using the knowledge gained during the removal of magic. Abel clearly states that he activated the golem himself, the more striking the enemy. The machine is conquered by his will. But Abelhade does not seem. He shouts that Abel has no elfy blood, so he is not able to fully control the golem, and repeats his team. Despite this, Abel successfully holds control of the golem, proving that even a person can control this power. In despair, Abelhade awakens several Gallets at once, trying to take the initiative. But Abel's Gallets face his machines. A powerful magical wave explodes from the impact. Abelhade is trying to regain control in a panic, but they do not respond. He is shocked by how human magic can conquer the Zeshian creatures. Even loud orders are in vain. The giants ignore him, standing motionless, completely out of his power. Abel states that he fully controls all the heads in the hall, and it is in vain to try to rewrite the barriers. Abelhade, shocked, does not believe that he was so easily overcome. It is covered with rage. It causes a powerful spell, and the earth shudders under his feet. The attack turns out to be unexpected. Abel tries to protect his comrades and shouts to them not to move. He sees Abelhade escapes through the wreckage during the collapse, and desperately his name is desperately, not wanting to let go of the enemy. Abel rushes after determination, not to allow the use of the arrow of God, not even knowing what its destructive power will be. He warns of the danger in front, but she insists to accompany him, carrying with her a totem of the world tree. Abel agrees, promising to teleport it in case of threat. Meeson decides to go with them, even frightened. He is the responsibility of the leader, but someone behind begins to unconscious. Abel falls on his knees, completely exhausted. He asks others to go without him and stop Abelhade. He explains that he has already spent all potions and cannot move on. Maya is also exhausted. She says her legs hurt. At this point, a new figure appears and offers help. Abel is picked up on his back, and he grumbles that he is nausea from shaking. Maya walks side by side, and Meeson asks Abel why he became an adventurer. At first through money, but later confesses, once another adventurer was rescued. Abel recalls how he hits the magic beast in his childhood and almost died, but someone came and saved him. He admits that he is not sure of his strength, but as a leader, he will do everything to help Meeson. They rise to huge doors. Meeson looks inside. It is dark there, but something giant will move in the shade. It turns out that it is a goal-activated Abelhade. Maya is frightened, and Abel realizes that he will not be able to take this golem under control. He is a barrier. Maya realizes the only way out is to destroy the monster. Abel prepares large-scale magic, but does not have time. Meeson suddenly rushes forward, shouting that everyone runs. Abel and Maya are stunned. Meeson wants to distract Golem, sacrificing himself. Abel tries to stop him, but too late. Meeson courageously meets the blow, and the monster revive. Maya screams with fear, begging Meeson to escape. He desperately holds the golem, begging for friends to complete the mission. Abel cold says that screams will not help. It's time to act. It lifts the rod and forms a large magical circle in the air, filling it with destructive force. Abel shoos loudly, attracting the attention of the beast to distract him. The machine responds instantly, recognizes the magical presence, and turns to the side of Abel. He orders Meeson to retreat immediately, and he prepares to take a blow, activating his spell. The shot of magical metal hit the target. It punches the head of the golem through. The explosive impulse brings the monster to pieces, and Meeson manages to run safely. The giant falls, lifting a cloud of smoke, and the crack of its destroyed parts indicates the battle is completed. Abel is relieved to watch the car lie still, but the sudden movement forces Meeson frightened. It turns out that the metal has hit the nearby structure, causing damage to it. Concerned, Abel thinks whether a regional lord will not require compensation. Maya jokingly suggests that you put everything on Abelhade. To discharge the situation, Abel says that the damage is insignificant, but suddenly the earth begins to tremble. Meeson asks what is happening. Abel guesses they may have damaged the key resistance of the ruins. Everything begins to fall, and Meeson suggests fleeing, but Abel asks to move him to the door. Abel's thoughts are heard by the voice of an old magician. It would be a shame to lose such a smart enemy as Abelhade. Recalling his words, Abel thinks, if they met in other circumstances, everything could have been different. Meeson insists to throw a magician because it is waiting for the execution, but Abel is hesitant. He does not want to leave a research team that is still sleeping. He asks for another minute. Meeson persuades to flee, but Abel decides it is better to save everyone, using the renovated golem as transport. Having transformed the magic metal quickly, Abel restores the golem directly in place, then it shocks Meeson. It begins to explain the technical parts of the repair, but Maya asks to move the lecture for later. Finally, the group has time to get out of the ruins. From afar, Maya says that Abelhade will be buried alive, but Meeson tries to cheer everyone up. Abel is silent. When asked about the arrow of God, he simply shows a piece of ore that has taken with him from the ruins. Abel and Maya are surprised to consider strange material. When interacting with magic, the stone begins to levitate. Its buoyancy changes depending on the frequency of magic. It is probably an artifact created by elves with alchemy. Watching the stone, Abel recalls the words Abelhade. He said that the elves went down to the earth 2,000 years ago to bring back the kingdom of heaven. But why did they build a fortress in such an isolated place? This doubt makes Abel ask the whole story. Something does not converge in it. While he is immersed in thought, Maya runs up, in a panic pointing forward. His eyes are wide open. Something shocking is happening in front. Abelhade appears in front of a storm sky with a victorious smile, holding a rotating magical sphere above your hand. He solemnly proclaims, the time of the renaissance of Zeshim has come. He looks with full confidence. I am convinced that no one was able to overcome the beastie golem. He believes that excessive use of magic and control over the golem completely depleted the enemy. He will no longer be able to resist. Seeing his magic label shines, Abelhade is convinced that no elf is able to defeat the weapon created by the Zeshim people. In silence, he examines the landscape from the top of the tower, confident in his victory and approaching a large breakthrough. He then opens his next step, to run the arrow of God right into the city of Lamarn. According to him, a blow of the arrow alone will turn a huge city into ashes. Its goal is the mass destruction to show the world the power it possesses. He looks at the sky with hatred, proving the oath of revenge. He will destroy the heavenly state of Ulfine and bury it in the earth. Meanwhile, enormous energy begins to concentrate in the air. a sign that the attack is already close. But suddenly the roar is heard. Abelhade looks in surprise. He notices cracks in the barrier of the fortress. Shocked, rushes to the control terminal, not understanding who is able to break through such a protective structure. Abel and others are watching a cracked barrier, affected by the power of impact. One of them asks how Abel managed to start a piece of metal at such a distance. Sitting in the car, the team is preparing to move on, destroying everything on the way. But suddenly, before the eyes shock, the cracked barrier begins to be self-renovated simply in their eyes. Meeson is shocked by the speed of recovery of the barrier. The voltage increases. Meanwhile, Abelhade watches with a confident smile, laughing quietly. Looking happy as the fortress repairs itself, it reveals a secret. The barrier has a system of self-healing. It can only be destroyed by blocking the magical power, and for this you need to destroy all the nodes throughout the fortress. Despite the accurate hit, the protection is again restored automatically, which is alarming everyone. Abel is aware that the barrier is not only strong, but also repairs itself. It begins the calculation. Its calculations show that it takes 15 seconds to fully restore the barrier. Armed with this knowledge, he begins to act. Abelhade, watching the battlefield, believes that Abel finally surrendered and recedes. He comments on his vain struggle with sarcasm. But as soon as the barrier lights up too bright, there is doubt on the face. Abel did not give up. He prepares something more than just force. Suddenly, the earth around Abelhade begins to tremble. The blows are heard one by one, and he barely holds on his feet. Stunned, he looks around and shouts in a panic something huge and unprecedented will happen. Abel does not stop. He continuously launches magical metals into the barrier. He understands that one blow will not help. His strategy is to overload the barrier by a series of attacks to force the system of self-healing to break. Meeson is amazed. Abel simply punches the path of stubbornness. Abelhade explodes from rage, cursing Abel to tear all his plans. At first he considered the guy useful, but now it is a threat. He evokes the power of the Marin clan, a clan of war known as the gods of death on the battlefield. The full hatred, it is better to die than to allow you to destroy a centuries-old dream. From now on, he will not forgive anything. Activates a powerful magical circle and shouts to make the weapon released. Giant tools are ready for battle on the sides of the fortress. The whole structure is transformed into a real fighting machine. The fortress changes in the eyes, all around shocked. The girl loses self-control. In a panic, she turns to Abel, not knowing what to do. He, though concerned, tries to keep calm. He thinks hard how to react instantly to a new threat. Quickly activates magic and creates several areas of high-quality magical metal for the next stroke. Abel releases the spheres one by one, like a magical machine gun, trying to intercept the enemy shells before they hit his team. Despite his criticism for his coarse power, he is convinced that his magical metal will not give way to ordinary stone weapons. He evaluates the damage and understands that he will soon be able to press on Abelhade, but if the weapon hit the city, there will be a catastrophe. Abelhade watches in horror as the fortress collapses. The place stored intact for over 2,000 years begins to disintegrate. His symbol of hope is graying, turns into fragments simply in the eyes. By despairing his fist, Abelhade decides to resort to his last weapon. With hatred on the face, activates the mechanism of starting the arrows of God, an artifact created to destroy the kingdom itself. The fortress begins to tremble madly. The earth cracks, electricity erupts, a giant structure emerges from the depths. The huge fragment of the earth rises into the air, exposing the true power of the arrow of God. Giant flying weapons fly over his heads. The shock group watches how it is in the sky. Abel explains that a sinister sound is a massive consumption of the energy of heavenly spirits. Only a few can hear it. It is evidence of magic scale. Looking at the crystal, he suggests that the laser will be released. Maya panics and offers to flee immediately. But Abel does not believe that magical metal will be able to punch such power. He begins to think about a stronger option. He conveys the Mai staff, explaining, it only helps in the merger with the spirits but does not affect the force of attack. The team executes the order, though surprised. Abel begins to create a sphere fiery ball, using only his own hands. Abelhade activates the arrow of God. With the concentrated energy for the final stroke, it proclaims with a sadistic smile, this is the end for Marin's magician. The fortress burns with force. Abel compresses a fireball, imposing layers of energy one by one, creating an absolute power of destruction. He is confident. He calls this technique Abelbar. He remembers the spell that has discovered in unconsciousness and decides to apply it for the first time. It exclaims with determination, now your turn, Abelhade. Abel launches his equipment with the golem. A powerful blow hit the fortress. The explosion strikes the enemy by surprise. The attack pierces the sky like a ray of concentrated energy, hitting the heart of a fortress with a devastating force. A powerful explosion launches a chain reaction. Abel watches with horror how his last weapon. It begins to disintegrate under the force of Abel's attack. The magic ball destroyed the very essence of the artifact. Meanwhile, in the city, under the clear sky, the girl was quietly enjoying a snack with an unmoved face. However, even after the meal, she did not hide anxiety, doubting whether everything was really doing well. On the terrace, they discussed the latest missions. The guy said that in hunting goblins was almost superfluous, and the girl reminded that the battle with a magical beast could affect the increase. He noted that the griffin disappeared with the ruins, and said he would only accept the rise after he had decided on his way. A bright picture came in thought, a powerful sphere that stopped the divine arrow. It became a turning point in his life. Suddenly, the threat from the sky forced the group to respond instantly. The guy was the first to determine the danger, and he activated the magic of the wind to hold back the attack while the situation became more critical. The powerful gust threw Abel to the ground. The blow was strong, and the situation was aggravated. Friends rushed to him, concerned about his condition after falling. After the defeat of Abel, everyone tried to understand what exactly pushed him into this path. One of the boys decided that the sentence should be issued by the city court. As a result, everything was decided quietly, and almost no one learned about Abelhade's plans. The girl began to tell the events, adding to the words exaggerated gestures and sounds. She delightedly described how the ruins came to life, as Abel took control of the golem, and how everything exploded with bright light. But her incendiary style of the story knocked everyone out of the panther. One man even asked to translate because he did not understand anything. Despite the confusion, they managed to convince him that Abelhade's plans were real, but he still doubted that the ruins were rescued. The man waved. They say, one magician is not capable of such, and young people just seek glory. Subsequently, the couple communicated peacefully again. The guy noted that even if they were completely believed, it could have caused problems, but finally, the result was satisfactory. When they were resting at the hotel, they heard the visitors discussed at the next table. At the next table, they talked about the destroyed barrier. The rumors claimed that he exploded through the elf, who allegedly tried to take control of him. The couple was surprised how much they exposed the truth. They mentioned that the elf was arrested, but the death sentence was avoided. Looking at the destroyed ruins, they came to the conclusion nothing to change. The guy thought about Abelhade, not understanding his true intentions. Nevertheless, he admits it was Abelhade who taught him magic, and for that he felt gratitude. He did not want to win this man himself. Somewhere in the shade, the figure in the hood silently wished Abelhade. Suddenly, the guy heard the icy remark of a stranger who called Elf a fool. He was just surprised, thinking about the fate of his mentor. People at the neighboring tables continued to discuss the incident, criticizing the elf. Most believed that the destruction of the ruins was a relentless and irresponsible act. The girl listened silently, thinking about the pride of elves. She did not leave the question, what really pushed Abelhade in this path. The guy noted that eventually the event was written off on the ambitions of the elf, but in his opinion, it is even worse punishment to be an uncontrollable victim of his own dream. Their conversation was cut off by a friend who had fun. It was Meeson. Friends warmly congratulated him, asking for a state of health. He said he spent 2 days in bed. Then he shared the news about a new mission, the search for a dangerous criminal. However, he noted that he would not be able to accompany them this time. He has other cases. At the same time, it was certain that the team would handle on its own. In the conversation, he remembered how 2 adventurers from the guild visited him after submitting the report. On the way back, Meeson was suddenly met by old acquaintances. They sincerely congratulated him on the rank of it. It turned out that they were looking for him from the past incident. It was acknowledged that without it, the team is difficult to give missions. They sincerely asked him to return and head again. Meeson was frustrated and clearly confused because of such a turn. He finally agreed, responding with enthusiasm that he would not be able to refuse. Colleagues rejoiced, although some suspected the invitation is too comfortable because it appeared after raising it. Still, Meeson looked happy. Subsequently, the conversation returned to the topic of the wanted offender. Meeson shared new details. According to the information received, the offender is hiding in the forest. In the village of Clan, Marin leader calls an important meeting and thanks everyone for his presence. Before starting, recognizes problems and assumes responsibility, starting with an apology. During the discussion, the members of the clan indicate the importance of Abel and the difficulty of reproducing the process associated with aromatic leaves. Despite the detailed records, everyone recognizes only Abel could perform the process correctly. His father, Zelrut Belek, silently watches, thinking about the genius of his son. Zelrut is bitterly aware that he has not won the prestige in the village because of the inability to reproduce the technology of growing leaves. Suddenly, a man appears and laughs loudly, mocking the situation and hinting that he knows more than he shows. This is Norman Karlko, the head of the Karlko family, who rejoices in the news that Abel's leaves are no longer made a chance to restore the success of his own products. Going out of the hall, he ignores magical rites and provokes others, promising revenge to those who once depreciated him. After the explosive exit of Norman, the leader of the clan Marin criticizes his pettiness, noting that after Abel's leaves, no one wants to return to the old one. At the same time, he acknowledges the situation really plays the hand of Karlko's family to control the transition period. He orders to mix Abel's leaves with other products, gradually changing the composition to teach the people to a new standard. The leader explains Abel's leaves served as a system of magical currency. He now sees the right moment to curtail their use. Although the leaves do not addictive, it affects users. The leader decides to carry out everything secretly, otherwise the riot can break. Going out of the house, he suddenly feels amazing magical energy, but considers it imagination and ignores it. Meanwhile, it speaks of the union of families Rieta and Karlko to create new products. All the talented magicians of the village already there, except Abel, and no one knows that there is something strange nearby. At night, the mysterious object hit the window and gets into the room. The shadow figure immediately recognizes the artifact. It is associated with Abel. Inside, there are instructions of the advice on mixing leaves, recording or broadcasting the solution. The girl sits among the boxes and looks at the sky silently, in thought bitterness because of the indifference of the leader and father. She believes that her brother is frightened and lonely in an unfamiliar world. It covers the impotence before the distance and coldness of others. Thinking about Abel, the girl suddenly finds an idea that, in her opinion, will make the leader take the search seriously. With new determination, she smiles and promises to herself that everything will change. Hugging the book, the girl swears that he will save her brother. Full of hope, she decides, whatever happens, she will find it herself. Meanwhile, in the north of the kingdom, Dinlart, in the main temple of Kudola, the silence of the Horde Monastery violates a powerful explosion. Through the smoke clubs, the man around whom the bodies fall around. In his hands, a magical staff that welcomes him to break the seal, which kept a long-standing force. After centuries, a powerful essence returns to freedom. She calls herself a supreme demon. One of the present immediately recognizes her Zolomony, a large demonstration and destruction. He bows to her with respect, aware of the scale of her strength. Feeling near the spirit that has grown in power, Golden orders its follower to go south. In the Lamarna direction, something important is being prepared there. The magician is not hesitant to be ordered, although he is interested in what awaits. At the center of adventurers in Lamarn, the worker is shocked by the ear and skin of the legendary Devour. The present immediately recognize the creature by the color of the skin and power that can break the swords. A surprise and doubts are spreading. Did the young man really won this monster? When the guy and the girl go into the hall, all the views turn to them. There is silence, intense and uninvited. The girl tries to discharge the atmosphere with a joke that the stars have become, but the guy feels this attention is not about admiration. While the rare trophy is checked, others begin to whisper. Many do not believe in his feat, assuming that the demon was already dead. The guy realizes that instead of honor, he gets the views of neglect and envy. The employee reports that the assessment of the trophy will take time because of its exclusivity. The guy reflects on this unwanted attention. Instead of recognition, only suspicions. He wants to earn quietly, without bureaucracy and feudal glory. But suddenly, a formidable warrior with a sinister smile approaches him, hearing about the victory over the demonic monster. Without believing, the man accuses the boy loudly of lies, begins to mock and press him roughly. An already intense atmosphere is exacerbated. Guild employee intervenes to stop the conflict. The guild worker ran to the hall and strictly stopped her husband, named Gaston Garrant. He is accused of constant problems. Gaston smiled boldly and stated that he simply corrects bad adventurers, but the employee noted that there are too many complaints about his behavior. Despite reprimand, Gaston continued to justify himself, accusing newcomers of fraud for rapid promotion. The guy and his girlfriend were watching the stage with anxiety. Gaston continued to humiliate the young man, saying that weak adventurers take up places that are not deserved. The guild employee tried to stop him, reminding him that he should not make sentences. But Gaston did not quench. They say that if the demon was higher than the rank C, Slabak could not win him, so the guild was incorrectly evaluated. He asked the rank of the boy with contempt. Two men proudly praised Gaston, revealing that he has been ranked D. For the boy, this was a confirmation. Gaston, though strong physically, and has no skills to grow or interest noble persons. When one of the followers began to be confused in words, the guy realized that the opportunity came. Coldly thought, he decided to use Gaston for his own purposes. The guy suggested talking to him in the lane, so as not to create unnecessary noise. Despite the surprise and anxiety of the girl, he reassured her and left himself. In a remote place, Gaston was surprised by the courage of the guy. Such a straightforwardness made him an impression. The guy stopped Gaston before he had time to do something and said he only wanted to talk. He confessed that he was not the one who really won the demons. He only exchanges materials at the request of a former adventurer who has lost his status. Gaston did not believe it and accused him of fiction, but the guy had a different purpose. He intentionally tried to scare Gaston. They say, a real hunter on demons is very dangerous and will not forgive the public. But when he saw a skeptical expression on Gaston's face, he realized he may have overdo it with a fiction. Gaston confessed that he did not believe the word and tried to transfer the situation in his favor. He began to demand money for silence. The guy refused, saying that he was barely surviving, but offered another option. In his soul, he was happy. Gaston was easy to manipulate, and the guy immediately began to implement his plan. The next time when it receives rare materials, Gaston will exchange them for him, giving himself for a hero. Gaston is surprised, but interested in glory, willingly agrees. The guy emphasizes that the money will remain him. He presents it as a mutually beneficial agreement, and Gaston, tempted by the possibility of recognition, accepts the proposal. Some of the adventurers are catching. They say Abel, apparently, already gets on nuts in the lane. The girl tries to keep calm. She is confident in the strength of Abel, but anxiety is increasing when a man with suspicious intentions comes to her, makes compliments and offers help. The atmosphere is tensed around bold views and obscene comments. Meanwhile, the Gaston Sprains are bursting into the guild in a sublime mood, hoping that their leader had already dealt with a guy. But suddenly, Gaston is fiercely poured on them with fists, beats without warning. All shocked, something has changed dramatically between them. Gaston bursts her people for bringing the girl to tears and calls it disgusting. He beats them again, accusing them of eternal grunts and envy of other people's success. At this point, Abel quietly returns and apologizes for the delay. The girl in confusion tries to understand what happened, but Abel says he will explain everything later. They go together, leaving chaos behind. Later, having heard Abel's explanation, the girl finally understands what was the essence of the whole situation. The guy shows money received for rare materials and offers to spend them on new equipment for next hunting. She dreams that you can buy, but asks, why is he so much money? Abel is calm, to food, a new knife, and to repay the debt is her. This answer is surprising. She misinterprets the words, thinks that he wants to get rid of her. He felt blamed, thinks he has become a burden, promises to wear things and try more. Abel is confused, trying to quickly reassure her, and explains that everything is wrong. He watches her reaction and begins to think. Mia seems to be afraid to be abandoned. Maybe something painful happened in her past. Then he explains, just wants to pay off debt first. It's fundamentally. There are many goals ahead. These words are surprised by Mia. She becomes interested in his dreams. Abel admits that he wants to create magical tools, chimeras, and even gauntlets, but most of all, he wants to invent a magical phone. He tells that he read about monsters who transmit information at a distance through magical waves, something like electromagnetic, and he wants to reproduce it with magic. Mia was almost clear, but she was amazed at the idea. Abel inspires how this device will become a hit among adventurers and merchants, and Mia honestly recognizes until he cannot imagine how it works. Suddenly, Meeson comes into the restaurant. Meeson gladly welcomes Abel and Mia, noticing that both are all right. He comments on Abel's grand plan. The atmosphere is easy and friendly. The meeting takes place in a warm, familiar environment. Meeson remembers that he heard of the victory over the demon-burning head of the heads, and thanks for telling him. Then he asks if Abel noticed something strange in the forest. Mia recalls the headless fish in the river. Perhaps it is a demon matter. Abel replied that he did not see anything strange. Meeson reports that all adventurers below the rank B are ordered to return. He was in a different direction, but soon the instruction will come to central support. Meeson adds that Lord's detachment was ambushed. Abel is confused and wants to find out who attacked. The scene changes, traces of battle and blood are visible in the forest, and threatening sounds are heard among the trees. A giant dark tree, the center of the source of the threat. Abel and Mia move through thickets. Despite the ban for adventurers with rank below B, although tired, Abel insists on, he has already encountered creatures of this level. Mia is worried, reminds that this area is extremely dangerous, but they still go forward, relying on previous experience. Discussing a living tree that attacked the research group, Abel says he feels normal. Mia notes that among hundreds of trees, it is difficult to find the right one. Suddenly something beats Abel, he screams loudly with pain. Mia, in panic, does not understand what happened. The guy limping says he just turned his leg. In the end, they stop on vacation. Mia is concerned about whether he really is okay. After resting, Abel recalls that his rod is able to show strange magic nearby, but complains that he cannot keep his hand raised, and here it is illuminated by the idea. He calls his magical totem to help in the exploration of the forest. He explains that the totem will be able to track magical signals in front, and he does not have to use the rod constantly. Mia asks if it does not spend too many man, but Abel assures him he is enough. And he regrets that he has not done so before. With totem in front, it becomes much easier for them. Abel explains the limitation of teleportation. Magic does not affect ordinary things, such as luggage or people without magic energy, but the totem has a high concentration of mana, so it is easy to teleport it. He recalls how in the past, to escape from the village, he had to prepare a magical circle in advance. Without it, magic cannot act long distances. Mia panics, is scared of the idea that Abel can leave her by teleporting himself, but he immediately reassures, even having such an opportunity, he will not leave it. Meanwhile, Abel enthusiastically thinks about the likelihood of finding a monster tree it, in his opinion, has powerful magic. Its goal is to turn this tree into a new totem. There were many magical trees in his village, but he is looking for something special material with unique properties, like this monster. After creating a universal world tree totem, now he wants to create a battle totem. While they are talking, Mia is distracted by a bright flower. Its beauty fascinates, and it attracts Abel's attention. He notices that it is a pad. The petals should be red, but here they are purple. This indicates a high concentration of magic in the area. Abel is alert. Its totem also responds. The environment is clearly not ordinary. The magic portal opens before them. From it, a threatening voice is heard. Either worship as a deity or die. This voice beats directly into the mind, Mia and Abel in shock. The guy realizes that it is not a sound, but a magical transmission of thoughts. Suddenly, the tentacle appears and beats the totem, causing everyone by surprise. Abel understands the creature is already here. It's not just a beast, it is a tree that will be a demon. They and Mia were numb, seeing a living tree. Totem identifies it as a bound evil, a lot of spirits known as a giant spiritual beast. After death, it breaks down into smaller spirits. Abel suspects that it is an evil totem, but a demonic tree explodes with anger. It does not want to be comparable to statues. He yells that he is not a simple sculpture and strikes the earth with frantic force. Abel orders Mia to flee immediately. In response to provocation, the guy calls his totem, calling him a masterpiece, ready to show a true power. The creature is preparing a new attack, but Abel puts out a totem, direct challenge and protection at the same time. The tree responds aggressively, and Abel quickly multiplies its totem, creates baits to puzzle the enemy. The demonic tree is attacked by one of the bait totem, but Abel captures a weak place and prepares a counterattack. His fighting totem involves directly into the core of the demon. It caught a creature by surprise. She tries to apply mental traps. The totem ignores them. It is programmed only to a direct battle. Abel is pride in pride. His creation beats without fluctuations. Totem continues the attack. The obsessed tree is crushing, shouting that he is only a pathetic object, but the reflected weakens. Abel calmly watches the battle and already considers the next step, while Mia looks in surprise, does not understand why he is so relaxed in the middle of the battle. He explains that his totem is universal, but weak in the attack, so in the future he wants to create a combat option. Mia is aware evasion will not help. But instead of an immediate attack, Abel is looking for the most effective way to destroy the enemy. He notices that the roots of the monster move slowly, although he has great magical power. This means that the force is distributed between several points. The idea of attacks from many directions inspires Abel. He already thinks of how to use it to improve his own totem. Suddenly, an angry tree produces a powerful gust of wind. It covers Abel and Totem, forcing them to barely stay on their feet. Totem gets into the center of the blow. Mia screams with fear, worried about creating Abel. Meanwhile, the tree triumphs, believing that has gained an advantage. Abel looks silently, without panic. He recognizes that Totem lacks endurance, and the attack of the spirit is more than a physical threat. Improvement is needed. Abel again causes a totem that amazes the enemy and facilitates Mia. With a clear plan in his head, he no longer intends to joke. It is time to act seriously. The tree crawls without standing the guy's superiority. It tries to declare itself as God, launching another air wave, but Abel is collected. He is preparing for the final blow. His spell breaks the body of the demonic spirit that lived in a tree. A powerful outbreak and energy explosion scatter the creature completely. The threat is destroyed. Abel explains that he did not kill, but only scattered the collected spirits. They returned to their natural form. His family has long possessed spiritual magic. It begins to explore the remains of a tree true value, as it turned out, in roots filled with magical energy. The conductivity of magic in wood is extraordinary. Abel already imagines many inventions, even piano and plans to adapt the material for different goals. Realizing that they are here for a long time, Mia is laying out the camp. Meanwhile, Abel is completing a new battle totem and solemnly presents it, Usra 5000. With enthusiasm, he orders a totem to dance. Totem demonstrates its capabilities. Mia watches enthusiastically, and Abel proudly shows every element of the structure, his best creation at the moment. Mia is slightly embarrassed and asks why the totem has such a strange name. Abel explains the number of 5,000 symbolizes the approximate number of totems created by him. She also noted that such a giant is not easy to transport. Having finished the modification of Usra 5000, Abel says that, as with the World Tree Totem, a new work can be teleport. He decides to use it as needed. Smiling, he thinks that the demon and no idea had that he would not only be defeated, but also buried in a tree that became his coffin. Returning the forest, Abel thinks that you can sell the roots of the tree as evidence of victory, and the battle gave him new ideas for creating a bodegates. He desires wealth, and Mia just wants to return to the hotel and eat. The scene ends with a peaceful evening landscape. At the same time, a mysterious woman feels that the magical presence of an old acquaintance has disappeared. It seems to be teleported. But the power is still felt, and it is alarming. When the subordinate asks for it, it changes the topic. They say nothing important and asks whether they go to Lamarn. With a smile, she says she is looking forward to the moment when she changes this world, passionate about the illusion of peace. The warm-up is complete. It goes with the companion on a new trip. At this point, a mysterious figure hidden in the distance is observed. Meanwhile, at the Center for Adventurers in Lamarny, anxiety. The young man in despair tells how he decided to leave the adventurer's way. His interlocutor, more practical, reminds, without additional skills or connections, it will not be easy. After Abel went to the battle with a demonic totem, the forest became forbidden for ordinary inhabitants. It hit the local adventure seekers' earnings disappeared, and the adventurers of rank B and above left the city. On the streets, one of them is about to debts for weapons, the other, that even tomorrow nothing is left. But suddenly the news appears. Gaston has destroyed monsters in the northern forest. Everyone hopes for a quick cancellation of the ban. But adventurers remain skeptical. They are evil because of a desperate position and do not believe in chats. And here comes a chunky man with a large package in his hands. One of the adventurers is surprised to show him, attracting the attention of everyone. When a stranger comes closer, it becomes clear he carries the roots, and everyone is delighted and anticipated. He puts the roots on the table, attracting general attention. One of the responsible immediately recognizes this artifact. It is a telepathic black root, capable of causing powerful winds, comes from the monster that the previous team should erase. Everyone is stunned by this news, and a silent man stands, hanging over the find. With the advent of Gaston with mysterious roots, all shocked. Previously stuck on D rank D, now he is a hero. People are delighted to discuss, they say, it has always been strength. While Gaston takes praise with a confident look, he is asked to tell the details of monsters. He honestly admits that he remembers little, he doesn't even know what it really was. He's brought to a special rack, and the crowd honors as a real hero. Everyone is happy, you can finally return to the forest and restore adventures. Even despite the frivolous behavior, Gaston gets respect and attention. He is considered a rescuer. At this point from afar, the young man is glad that he did not get into the center of events. He is pleased that he has decided everything unnoticed, but is a little worried about the possible consequences. Suddenly, he is alarmed with a strange sound from the outside. A man in a panic breaks into the room, pleading for help. He reports that something terrible has attacked the city and begs to intervene adventurers. The atmosphere changes instantly. Everyone in anxiety thinks whether it is a magical beast or even worse. Everyone looks at Gaston, waiting for him to take the case. They press, if he defeated the monster of rank B, then he will cope with this. Gaston is under the pressure of expectations. He never sought hatred, but now understands the responsibility of the hero weighs a lot. The desire to be recognized pushes him forward. He takes command and, together with a group of decisive adventurers, goes to the threat. Meanwhile, the young man who watches all this is amazed. No one even mentioned the reward. An alarmed mason runs to Abel and quickly leads him to the side, reporting something alarming. It turns out that Tid and Lisa turned into a stone. Abel looks at a completely fossilized comrade. No one understands what has happened. Abel concludes that this is not a monster, but a magician that uses the magic of fossil. Some of those present advise to flee immediately until they turned into a stone. Mason determines the direction from where the enemy works, and without delays grabs Abel, relying on his strength. Together with Maze and Girl, Abel is hiding behind the wall. Hearing a loud cry, they look steady. The situation is becoming more anxious. When they get to the square, there is a shocking picture before their eyes. Dozens of people, including adventurers, have been transformed into stone. Among them is a completely fossilized Gaston. Panic covers the city. The threat becomes more than real. Mezin notices the enemy and warns Abel. A dream magician looks at them ominously and mockingly calls fools for approaching. It prepares a deadly spell. In his hands, a staff with a dark gem, which begins to glow ominously, signaling the inevitable attack. The magician directs a magical shot, but Abel instantly creates a light barrier by saving the team from a blow. The successfully reflected attack strikes the enemy. He immediately realizes that Abel is also a magician. A true magical confrontation begins. The magician reveals that he draws force from a high demon named Golden. Abel was stunned. He did not expect a meeting with a demon. While the enemy is preparing the next attack, Abel orders Mezin and have to run to avoid a blow. During the attack, the team hides behind the body of a fossilized adventurer, using it as protection. Maya doubts whether this is the right body lives just in a stone. Mezin agrees that it is not ideally, but as long as they are stone, they are not threatened. The blow is ongoing. Abel is anxious to evaluate the situation, around the dozens of stone bodies that can crumble. Maya is afraid to imagine what will happen if someone breaks and then returns to life. Abel notes that the gathering of the magician is extremely dangerous. It has a connection with the demon. Meanwhile, the enemy laughs, provoking them to fight. Abel studies the magical circle of the enemy and realizes the spell of fossilization is not so difficult. If you destroy the magician, everyone will return to normal. The group prepares for the attack. In addition to victory, Abel seeks to win staff, suspecting that it is not just a tool, but something much more powerful. Mezin is summoned to distract the enemy to give Abel a chance to attack. Maya also joins the plan. It will run around, creating chaos. Mezin and Maya start, everyone in their direction, disorienting the magician with their shouts and movements. The magician mockingly mocks, considering them cowardly, but quickly rushes. All his attention focuses on them, which opens the path to Abel. When the enemy is completely passionate about the pursuit, Abel sneaks from the back, choosing the perfect moment to blow. He calls for his magic of the wind at full power, attacking the magician suddenly. The airflow disrupts the plan. The huge tornado breaks out of his hands and picks up the magician, throwing it into the air. He yells, frightened and defenseless. During the chaos, the staff slip out of his hands and disappears in the whirlwind of the wind, broken by the shot of Abel. The magician falls on the ground, his body is squeezed to the ground, and the reaction is completely muted. The staff is lost. Abel calmly watches him and concludes, if he depended on the staff, he is now powerless. The threat seems to be neutralized. However, even crippled after falling, the enemy is still alive and looks at Abel with hatred. He is amazed by his vitality. With pain in the voice, the magician begins to speak, pouring bitterness. As a magician, Abel should understand him in words hatred that has long been smoldering. Lying on the ground, the enemy recognizes that he was expelled from the village only for continuing the study of magic. The anger breaks in every word. He curses this peaceful world where magic is despised. Abel listens to stunningly everything he sees is a distorted soul, mutilated by the past. The real purpose of the magician is to awaken the demons and show how terrible magic can be. He even calls Abel to join him. Abel silently recalls similar words heard recently. The schemes are repeated. They all fall into extremes when the world does not understand them. Both the magician and the Abelhade were victims of misunderstanding. Abel realizes that he himself could be on the same path. Although magicians do not appreciate in this world, Abel is very grateful that he has near those who support him. It saved him from darkness. When he approaches the staff, friends warn him not to trust the enemy. Abel nods calmly. He knows what he does. The magician smiles crooked, calling Abel a fool. He still has the last card. As soon as Abel touches the staff, the hidden seal works. From dark energy, a winged figure with black wings arises. Her aura is stunning. It is not just magic, it is something more dangerous. It is a Goldonia, a demon, whom the magician liberated. With contempt, she reproaches him that he was too long with Abel. Bored, Zolomony decides to play with Abel a little. She just has nothing to do. Abel calls friends, but they do not see a demon and do not understand who he talks about. The enemy, taking advantage of the moment, crawls to the staff. Goldinia attacks without saying any spell. Its power is obvious. Abel immediately creates a wall of light. Only a miracle he manages to stop her breakthrough. It is already visible. The difference in the level between them is striking. The demon laughs happily. She has not used magic for a long time, but she has fun. Mezin and Maya are surprised to watch the mysterious blue girl. Abel tries to respond, but does not have time. Goldinia is moving at a rapid speed, which is difficult to even follow. Goldinia continues the crazy offensive, laughing and provoking Abel, seeking to see how long he can keep the defense. His friends in panic. The level of the strength of the demon is much higher. While she prevails in the sky, the rusty magician is insanely cheering for even more destruction. One of the allies screams Abel to make the enemy a mighty blow. Abel, exhausted and under pressure, replies that he would have done it if he could. The difference in power is too big for a simple solution. He is aware that a large-scale attack could affect civilians, so he decides to act accurately and carefully. Its new goal is to limit the movements of Goldinia, because its greatest advantage is a crazy speed. Maya notices something interesting and suggests the idea. Abel's eyes broke out in the eyes. Goldinia continues to joke and throw a spell, but Abel has already made a decision. He calls his totem, betting on this strategy, everything or nothing. Goldinia is interested in watching the totem flies in her direction and immediately recognizes its origin. This is the thing of the clan Marn. This further fought her attention. Totem flies with a clear trajectory. Abel is concentrated to change the course of the battle. Golden analyzes the totem and recognizes its power made of bark of the world tree. It is filled with magical energy, but she does not lose self-confidence. Meanwhile, Abel prepares a spell with a bright magical circle. Everything should happen perfectly. Totem with force strikes the target, suddenly grabbing Golden. The energy explosion covers the entire area. Magic turns the battlefield into a real swirl of light and wind. Abel watches carefully. Golden covers the storm, but she smiles and rushes forward. It seemed that she had intercepted control. At the moment when she grabs the totem, the trap suddenly collapses on it. A giant totem with hands appears behind. Goldinia is confused. It is for the first time covers a real shock. She didn't expect it. Abel worked a step forward. The demon is grabbing a few hands of the totem, shaking completely. It is defenseless. Abel instantly coordinates the final phase. I asks to lift the staff, and though lost, he fulfills the request. Then he orders to aim the magic object on the totem. Everything is prepared for a decisive blow. Maya directs the staff, and a strong spell strikes Goldonia directly into the heart. She screams in despair, begging to stop. But too late, the explosion of energy completely absorbs Gold, covering it with a deadly glow. Abel, along with others, watches the final outbreak of a magical attack. Goldinia, stunned, does not understand how someone from the Marin clan could be here, and tries to comprehend the power of the blow that he had just survived. The totem hangs over the city, pulsing magical energy until Abel is approaching. Maya, still stunned, cannot fully understand what happened. The situation turned upside down, and the enemy is strained. Dikanitsa shock from Aura Totem. It recognizes the strength of the Morin clan. She does not believe that Abel has won her ally on his own and imprisoned in Totem. Scarily demands to find out who he is. Abel only smiles quietly, thinking what to do next. Considering the staff of the enemy, Abel feels in its sealed magic options for using it begin to draw in the head. Meanwhile, the first of the fossilized inhabitants begins to move. This confirms people return to normal, but Abel is alert, noticing something alarming, though he does not voice it. He understands that after the events with Abelhade and the emergence of Goldinia, even with this staff in his hands, everything can look too suspicious, especially when the magicians are distrustful. Although reluctant, Abel decides not to carry a staff with him. He is too heavy and can attract unwanted attention. He chooses a safe place to hide it. And he rejects the staff away to avoid unnecessary problems. At this time, Gaston wakes up, still confused. He immediately begins to look for the enemy. Seeing the stitches that stuck in the wall, it fits closer to inspect it, and unexpectedly gets a magical blow. Meanwhile, people come to life one by one, hugging each other happily. The city explodes with joy. Seeing Gaston with a staff in his hands, everyone decides that he won the magician. He is immediately surrounded, greeting as a hero and a savior, and he is completely embarrassed. It is confused from the ovations. He does not understand what he is applauded and where this admiration. Little by little, he begins to believe that he may have awakened a hidden force, and he became a hero accidentally. The people are nominating his name, celebrating, as if he were the god of warriors. Abel is silently watching this scene. Maya asks if he really suits him, and he with a barely noticeable smile. It seems that the cult of Gaston seems to be formed. Abel silently watches the absurd, and Maizen does not understand how an adventurer of rank D suddenly became a national hero. She asks Abel, but he avoids answers. Instead of explanations, Abel picks up the crowd, shouting the name of Gaston with seeming enthusiasm. Behind his companions only tiredly look at the whole performance. Gaston's glory is lightly spreading by the kingdom of Dinrat, although he has no real power to support this image. Subsequently, it leads him to numerous problems that he did not even suspect that he would fall. But this is a completely different story. In the kingdom of Drogrod, in a sim, in the temple library related to Vera Kudal, a new event begins. The girl finds alarming information and suspects that a certain man tries to resurrect the ancient monster, finally convincing that he was evil from the beginning. Seeing the spooky image of the demon, she is approaching, but the guy sharply pulls her back, quarreling and calling the fool. He explains that it is too dangerous. In the same library, the guy asks not to speak badly about the local god. The inhabitants worship Kudal. The girl apologizes, saying that she didn't know. It turns out that Magus belongs to the new faith, but Kudal does not discriminate other views, unlike many. It was Magus who resurrected the demon Goldinia and fossilized the inhabitants, but thanks to chaos and case, the hero was declared Gaston. His name not only flew down, but also came to the king himself. Meanwhile, Magus is captured. It is angry with the result, and Gaston is honored as a hero and even appointed the commander of the personal guard of Queen Charlotte, the ruler of the Kingdom of Deposition. Abel watched this from a distance, realizing that he himself contributed to Gaston's rise, covering his actions. But everything went too far, and further hiding the truth will not work. To avoid the consequences, he raises money and decides to leave Lammer. Together with the satellites, he thinks what will be with Gaston. Nevertheless, he believes that sooner or later everyone will notice that he has no experience, and then the queen's anger can turn against him. However, Abel hopes that Gaston will not seem, because he is really stubborn and durable at heart. In reality, Queen Charlotte used his glory as a trump card in the struggle for the throne. She could not abandon him without harming her own authority. Although she did not know anything about him, Gaston was fossilized during the events. However, after its appointment, he begins to behave as a real character, holding an image through luck, self-confidence, and successful coincidence. And although he really did nothing, the reputation is stronger, and Abel does not even suspect that he is waiting for him. Now they are in the library. His companion explains that he studies a magical device that is able to transmit a signal and enhance the magical connection for Magaphone. That is a variety of a long-range magical phone. Abel recalls that she has already told it before. Now everything has become in place. She decides to flip through the books in search of something interesting. It has been 3 hours, and the girl is still fully immersed in reading. Abel, meanwhile, thinks of how difficult it is to decipher the ancient texts of the library. He knows the alphabet changed depending on the region and the era, and the big magicians also had their own writing styles. This only complicates reading. Although the content is interesting, Abel realizes that the author, the alchemist of time, which died 80 years ago, deliberately wrote so difficult as if mocking future readers. Abel's interest is growing. He wants to talk to someone from that era to better understand the author's idea. He suggests that only elves or old dragons could live for so long. At this point, his partner finds another book and, enthusiastically calling, shows Wigner's travels about the people of Orba, recorded by Wigner Urquhart. She is excitedly told and sincerely rejoices in this find. He says Wigner fought with a dragon for 3 days and night. Abel is skeptical of her head, thinking that she is too trusting and easily believes in any fiction. But despite doubt, he is interested in the popularity of the book, and especially the new volume that should soon be released. Abel says he has gathered a lot of useful information and will come back here tomorrow. He is annoyed that books cannot be taken with him. The girl advises him to increase the rank of the adventurer. It will give access to the best resources. But Abel denies. Too much glory leads to problems and restrictions, and for him, freedom above all. They meet Shime, an adventurer of the rank F, who had previously helped them find a home and a library in a sim. She is happy to welcome them. Shime complains that the books are too complicated there. Mezin replies that there are simpler texts. Ronia, with delight, advises her a diary of Wigner, while Abel stores skepticism. During the conversation, Shime recalls a strange organization that creates problems in Lammer. She heard that her members had 2 horns and a precious stone on the forehead. These words immediately attract Abel's attention. He recognizes the race of death. Ronia alertly notices that there are no stones in the possession and begins to suspect something. Abel thinks seriously, what do members of this race do in the Lam? Maya falls into a shock, realizing that the mysterious organization could come for it. She trembles, not understanding why she became a goal. He considers herself unimportant. The tension reaches the limit. The body does not stand, and the Maya faints directly in the eyes of the audience. She completely fainted, leaving everyone around her alarmed. The scene is sharply transferred to the village of Marin. An excited crowd gathered in front of the elderly house, which fiercely requires its appearance. People protest, refusing to return to the consumption of the leaves of Outcast after trying Abel. They require explanations. Why did production cease? Meanwhile, the girl, in a panic, notices something bad and, without spending time, rushes to Abel with the wolf. The consequences of his glory are rapidly spreading around. At a meeting of the village elders, they discuss the leakage of information and suspect that Outcast is trying to return the monopoly to the leaves. One of them is angry protests because of the presence of Norman, hinting that he is guilty of leakage. Everyone agrees. After Abel leaves, the peasants do not want to return to the old one. The elder thinks, recognizing the situation has come out of control, and people will not calm down if everything lasts. With a serious look, he announces, there is simply no other way out. The scene changes. A mysterious woman appears in the forest, who is watching the events from afar and smiling mysteriously, as if it were precisely such a development. The girl joyfully wanders the forest, firmly pressing an ancient book to the breast. She says with delight that everything really said Simpson and looks pleased with the find. The smile does not get out of her face. The book begins to radiate a light magical glow, and the girl confidently states that soon they will send someone to find her Nisam. In the shade at a distance, Abel silently watches for everything, and in his look is a suspicion. Going to Jassel, he expresses anxiety with a magical book. It comes from anxiety energy. He is also interested in Shim, whom she often mentions. Jassel only corresponds to a mysterious smile, not giving a clear answer, which is even more alarming Abel. She squeezes a book with a decisive look and a barely noticeable dark smile. She says her brother should wait for her. Abel silently watches, feeling that something is wrong with her intentions. Meanwhile, Maya, who has fallen in a sim, rests in the room. Her friends are sitting in silence, waiting for explanations about what happened to her. Everyone is intensely waiting for her stories. Maya is the daughter of the head of the clan of death. In this kind, magical crystals headed by Maya were of great importance, so she was considered shame and kept under house arrest for years. One day she learned that the Hami merchant would come to the settlement, and she hid in his cart among his goods. It was then that on the road she met the narrator. Maya grew in isolation, without love, ridiculed by children due to the lack of crystal. Even left home was a real test for her. Her only desire is to travel the world with someone. Therefore, when she met Jamie and Abel, who treated her with warmth, she felt alive for the first time. Although the adventures with Abel were sometimes scary, she recognizes such a life is much better than loneliness and neglect in her home. My father never spoke to her, only looked with contempt. She was amazed when he tried to return it after escaping. Abel now understands why she is so afraid of staying alone. Maya confesses that she knows that Abel with her only because of debt, but she is indifferent. The only thing she really wants is to travel near them. Squeezing his fists, Maya finally opens her true feelings. She does not want to go home anymore. Abel remembers 2 parents from the last world and the present. Although they were different, both allowed him to choose the way. He looks at Maya and says directly, if she hates her past, so he should leave him finally. Abel offers to escape together if she is chasing and continue the trip. These words are deeply moving Maya. The woman from the group understands how much Maya suffered and decides to help. Abel notes that they are too noticeable, especially after adventure in Zalaman, so they are easy to find. the group begins to think about further actions. Maya apologizes for the hassle, and Abel expresses a little more to explore the library. Another companion proposes to find a safe place where Maya could hide. Abel will be able to continue his research quietly. Having considered the situation, the girl suddenly remembers a place that can become their refuge. Meanwhile, a large detachment is gathering in the forest near the settlement of the clan Marin. Finally, a search group goes from the village to find Abel. They go with determination, starting a new hunt. Despite the old rule that forbids to leave the settlement, the team is sent. Only Abel is able to grow special tobacco of this region. Between farewells and anxiety, peasants remember the outside world with interest. One of the men instructs Jeannie to take care of the village until it is. She confidently replies, wishing him and his companion. The girl, squeezing the book, promises her mother to return her older brother home. At this time, other expedition participants gather. A guy named Philos hesitates, approaches a girl named Sheba. The group prepares for the mission of rescue. In their views, seriousness and silent determination, they notice that the Gizzle behaves differently. She constantly walks with a gloomy book and talks to her. Philos explains that this book from her grandfather's library, and since the Abel, her fiancé, disappeared, she plunged into magic, trying to reach his level. His sudden absence left a deep mark on it. The glass is indignant that Abel went without a word. She swears, if he meets it, will cook. The group, meanwhile, continues the path with suitcases in the hands. One member of the group doubts the decision of the elder to allow this mission. The atmosphere is tense, complete misconduct. The elder looks after the group and recalls the ancient law. He who leaves the village will regret. Despite the lack of evidence, he has a suspicion this warning may be much darker. He begins to believe that this prophecy has a deeper meaning than everyone thought. In the city trading unit, Lamarn, near the western gate, one group receives an important testimony. The group learns that the girl travels with a young man with white hair, whose appearance testifies to the connection with the clan Marian. They were seen in the trolley on the road to Asham, away for 2 days. Hearing about the clan, the leader is alert. He recalls that the members of the Marian clan are known to never leave their isolated lands. Nevertheless, he decides to go to Asham with the team, but the road. They are stopped by a mysterious figure that blocks the passage and warns it is forbidden to go. The guard explains that the magical beast recently caused the landslide. The collapses made the rocks unstable, so the path will be blocked for at least a week. But the leader ignores the caveat. When he is threatened with arrest for betrayal, he coldly states that he does not obey the laws of Dinraidade will still go forward. Seeing the futility of words, the guard goes to actions. Armed with a spear, he attacks with a redness, trying to restrain the offenders by force. The tension reaches the boundary. A cruel collision begins. The leader in the cloak demonstrates incredible skill, striking the guards. One of them in shock was frozen, unable to act. Meanwhile, another member of the detachment, who remains at a distance, notices something strange that is approaching, anticipating a new threat. Suddenly, a huge stone flies from above. The group does not have time to react. Soldiers scream, warning the leader, but too late. The stone with a roar hits the ground, thrusting the spears. The leader, concentrated with his fist, reacts instantly. The explosion when the impact lifts clouds of dust and debris. All in shock are watching devastation. Smoke comes out a powerful man with a decisive look, proclaiming his name. Squeezing his fist, he confidently states he will turn it back. The scene changes. A peaceful life is shown behind the walls in the mountain region. The peasants collect plants and walk the bazaar. But the silence interrupts the urgent call to Abel. He turns surprised, hearing his name. The man finds Abel and Maya, solemnly welcome, calling him my lord. Wondering that he in the rural area asks what he does here. Abel explains that he heard about problems with magical grass and came to check the soil. The guest praises Abel for the ability to win magical animals and knowledge of botany. Abel modestly replies that he studied it at home, and with monsters, not his specialization at all. The man mentions the reward for the defeat of the monster class A. They say the amount should be higher, but Abel, in the usual carefree manner, says everything is fine. Maya smiles quietly nearby. Abel with satellites arrives in the rural territories in the west of the country, according to the recommendation of Shim. For 15 days, the local trade has been blocking the magical beast, and interest in the region fades. But the main thing for Abel is silence and peace. He stands on his own before a fierce 3-headed magical creature. With incredible determination and skill, he comes into battle. Finally, he destroys the beast that terrorized the region. The owners and peasants sincerely thank and meet him with heat. Abel refuses the titles and rewards, asking only to stay alone. Local lord is sincerely grateful for salvation and promises support. In exchange, Abel asks only the laboratory and materials. The distance of the region is ideal for research. Starting a new life, Abel says relief that now they are unlikely to catch up. Maya apologizes that she has drawn him into so many problems. But he is glad that he has the opportunity to research and thanks Shim for his help. Sifa is amazed at his interest in agriculture, but Abel explains that his magic is based on natural elements and soil quality affects the result. He fascinates Claire that he will change the magical world from this muffin. Maya, full of joy, follows him and says that she is happy to see his inspiration. Meanwhile, some peasants are watching a couple with suspicion, although they admit that this wandering magician defeated a terrible three-headed dragon. Meanwhile, the group from the settlement that went to the lammer, exhausted, sitting on the ground, they understand the old curse is true. Those who leave the settlement will regret. They avoided magical animals, but got into the maelstrom of a strange, chaotic city. Part of the warriors of the clan Marin is depressed. One wants to go home, the other misses his mother's soup, the third smokes the old tobacco. Only one of them tries to encourage the rest. Everyone remembers Jasel, who fought on their own with most of the monsters. One of the young team members considers adults pathetic, but recognizes that she was really impressive. They discuss how difficult it is to find Abel, even with witnesses. They complain that they are forced to investigate, despite the distrust of the locals. And Jasel is separated, fully immersed in its grimoire. Her short yes is the only answer without taking her eyes off the book. When Abel's trail disappears and the mood falls, everyone is increasingly afraid to come back with nothing. Under the moon glow, Jasel turns to Grimoire. The mysterious voice of the book says they are close. She quietly agrees, waiting for a favorable sign. A strong downpour is pouring above the farmer lands. Abel stands in the middle of the field, soaked in the thread, but decisive. Something inside pushes him. He can no longer wait. Despite the rain and surprised views of the peasants, he does not stop. Maya, pleading, asks to return so that he is not ill, but he is afraid to lose crops. In despair, he launches the Ashura 5000 car to disperse the clouds. The mechanism is buzzing, and Abel will cry to the sky, ordering the drains to disappear. It releases the magic to full power, causing powerful winds to the aid of Ashuri 5000. The wind breaks into a crazy vortex. The sky before the eyes of all begins to clarify. The peasants are surprised to watch the clouds disappear. Abel laughs loudly, rejoicing in victory. There is nothing impossible for him. The next day in the estate of Lord Abel lies in bed, exhausted. Moreover, he is dramatic to his dying. Speaking to Maya says his last words. She is in a panic, but the doctor calmly states it's a common cold. Others with irony watch his theater. Despite the cold, Abel claims that the pain is unbearable. He hurts for crops. The doctor insists on vacation and promises the medication if it does not get better. Maya tries to reassure him with relief. The totem of the world tree looks after plants. Meanwhile, the peasants are discussing a strange statue defender without understanding its nature. At night, while Abel is ill, Maya stays with him. She gently hugs him and whispers quietly nearby. The room is silence and peace. Even in a dream, Abel seems to feel her presence. His face is clarified by a warm smile. Magic energy fills the room gently. His consciousness is cleansed, and the body envelops a light that treats without a word. He is surprised that he feels, noticing how the heat and fog in his head disappeared, as if they were not. Magic energy rises into the sky, leaving behind the room. Crossing the mountains, it forms a radiant, magical, symbolic circle in the air. It cannot be noticed. From the distance, Jasel and the mysterious captain see a sign in the sky, having frozen from surprise. They immediately recognize the light, and a symbol is a sign that points to Abel. Their surprise is mixed with understanding of the importance of what they have seen. The next morning, Abel slowly opens his eyes. Abel wakes up and is in amazement that feels great. He grabs sharply, remembering a magical circle from sleep. The desire to check it covers with his head. The embarrassed Maya does not have time to say anything, as he sees that he is energetic, as if he had not been ill. Without a second, Abel runs with passion. He cannot roll, opening something new. On the hill behind the estate of Lord, Maya suddenly covers a powerful gust of wind rising from the ground. She screams in a confusion, struck by an unexpected magical phenomenon, and does not understand what is happening. Abel, shouting joyfully, celebrates the success of his experiment. He admires the magic he saw in his sleep and thinks about whether the best ideas come to him with fever. Maya, still alarmed, admits it was impressive, but is afraid of punishment from Lord for action without permission. While Abel invents the name for new equipment, a threatening figure appears on the hill. The atmosphere changes instantly. A sexy man, accompanied by two soldiers, looks from above with cold determination and states, "I found you, maybe." Meanwhile, at the walls of possession, other men notice an unusual smoke over the mountains that rise from the House of Lord. Excited, they go to the source. Suddenly, one of them hears a foreign voice and rotates. Before him stands the hood with a piercing look, and behind, a few more silent figures. Meanwhile, despite minor damage from the experiment, the girl worries as Lord reacts, but Abel reassures everything can be corrected with the help of a totem of construction. Then he changes the topic and proposes to go to sleep hungry after a long illness. Going into the city, he and the companion hear a strange noise coming from the village, although early morning. Suddenly, they are stopped by a man, reporting an unexpected visitor. He suspects that a stranger is related to a girl. The trail goes silently in the hoods. Their appearance does not herald anything good. Seeing the arrivals, the girl fades in anxiety. The unexpected appearance of this man causes a real shock. A man with a strict and powerful look looks at her silently. There is clearly something important between them. Maya faded, recognizing her father's figure. Abel responds to this unexpected truth. The man calls her in a name by name, finally confirming his family connection. The father goes closer, calmly says that it is time to go home. The girl is surprised and lost. She lowered her head silently, as if accepting the order without deciding to argue. But Abel acts forward, states that Maya does not want to return and demands to be left alone. He accuses a man of his abandoned daughter. He asks whether Abel is from the Morn clan. Maya, with anxiety, monitors their dispute. The father states that the Maya awakens the force. He knows something much more than it seems. Abel does not understand what is happening, but the man sharply orders him to get off the road. Abel, without obeying, is preparing to use the magic of teleportation. It instantly causes a magical totem of teleportation right in front of the enemy. All shocked by his determination, without a moment, Abel grabs Maya and rushes with her into the light of the spell, disappearing in a bright glow. After teleportation, they find themselves in a new, safe place. Abel is trying to understand the situation. The man did not go into contact at all, and how did he find them at all? The voltage in the air, though mixed with relief. At least so far, but the tranquility does not last long. Her father is approaching again, breaking through the forest with unbreakable determination. They are awakened, he caught up with them again. Abel understands no longer escape, it's time to fight. Seeing the enemy is approaching, Abel asks Maya if she really wants to go home. Under pressure, the girl breaks down, she does not want to return. Having received a clear answer, Abel immediately causes the spell of Anger of the Earth, a powerful magic of the offensive. The earth explodes with frantic force, throwing back the enemy back and jumping even the father of Maya himself. Abel immediately causes a new totem and activates it, launching another attack. The enemy barely has time to defense, escaping from complete destruction. Totem beats with extraordinary force, but the father of Maya, with incredible accuracy, reflects all the blows. Abel in shock, he realizes that he is not a simple person, but a true monster in the human likeness. Without stopping, Abel orders the totem to attack again. The explosion breaks the earth, forcing it to admit it. A direct clash can be deadly. To restrain the offensive, it quickly lifts a stone wall magical defense. Protective magic forms a barrier that should stop the enemy. Maya takes an opportunity. She jumps through a cloud of fragments and dust raised by explosions. Her father watches a sudden maneuver in surprise. However, it does not have time to react. Another totem appears and flies directly to it. Abel increases the pressure, attacking even more decisively and rapidly. The enemy did not expect such speed and accuracy. His defense begins to crack. Abel causes new magic. Several metal spheres appear above it, and it loudly names the name of technology. Cadum magic metal. The balls begin to throb energy, preparing for a devastating stroke. The metal spheres fall rapidly, causing a powerful explosion around Abel. Maya's father instinctively tries to protect against the blow, but the explosive wave covers everything around, lifting clouds of debris and dust. After a devastating blow, the place of the battle envelops the smoke and blockage, hiding all the sight. Abel is strenuously looking into the smoke, thinking, or not overdo it with his attack. But in a moment, something strange emerges from the dust clubs. The fight is far from complete. From the wreckage appears the Maya's father, unharmed, with an indomitable and icy look. Abel in shock even after all the attacks, his enemy stands as if nothing was. Maya's father examines Abel and notices that he is a rare descendant of the Warren tribe, who who almost do not leave his native village. It makes him think perhaps the world is really out of balance. Meanwhile, Abel, without a second, causes a new combat totem, Ashra Totem. When the totem is moving forward, the father tries to go to Maya, but quickly pauses and changes in his face. He explodes fury, shouts that Abel in this battle is completely alone. And without hesitation, he rushes into the frontal attack, roaring from frantic force. One and only strike of his fist punches Ashra Totem through. Totem flies to the priests. The blow was cruel and extremely powerful. The strength of the explosion is such that a new wave of destruction is formed around. Abel and Maya lose the gift of language, stunned by what they saw. They cannot hide their shock from that unrestrained power. Abel looks at the remains of the destroyed Ashura, realizing that one of his strongest weapons could not stand. In a full stupor, he again faces a look with the father of Maya. He stands like an unbreakable rock, ready for the next round. Abel causes a powerful spell of the wind, trying to break the course of the battle. The element erupts forward, tearing the heavy gust, which suddenly collapses on the enemy. But even after such a blow, Maya's father does not shift. It stands in silence, as if no force is able to stop it. Abel breathes hard, exhausted and puzzled. He does not understand how he was able to destroy the Asher with such ease, suspecting that the movements are hard, blamed himself and apologizes for the failure. Maya tells that his power is the result of the secret technique of their kind, called the wooden rod. Teacher Abel also mentioned something like that. This technique strengthens the body with the help of internal magic, requiring marginal control. Only units from the ancient Morin clan can be done, usually with totem. Abel confesses that he also tried to master this technique, but after the workout lay a week with unbearable muscle pain. They recognize that such magic is rare and dangerous, and each clan has its own variation. They become wondering how the Duma clan reached this level. Abel asks if the Duma clan has special tools similar to Mari or totems that would open weaknesses, but Maya does not know. Then he recalls that Maya herself does not fully understand her abilities because she was forbidden to use magic. The crystal on the forehead enables members of the clan to feel spirits, which is why their magic is related to spiritual unity. Maya realizes that she was kept away only because of the lack of crystal, although she has a talent for the feeling of spirits. It was the reason for her rejection. Abel admits that his strong magic constantly publishes their location. He explains, artifacts like an asher and a world tree emit a noticeable aura. Maya is confused. She does not believe that her father hunts her jewelry stolen. Abel is worried staying here is dangerous. Without an Ashura, they will not withstand the next battle, and any new spell will attract the enemy's attention again, he is thinking. Abel and Maya are silently standing, feeling the growth of tension. They are preparing to make their choice. But not having time to move, they see the figure of her father, who constantly goes straight to them. Abel recognizes the defeat, knowing that in the present conditions, he will not win. However, he clearly states he respects Maya's choice. Her father is silently watching, slightly surprised by the boy's frankness and the determination of her daughter. Maya is going with the spirit and firmly states that he does not intend to return. Looking directly in the eye, she confirms her decision, and Abel becomes her defense, promising to fight if he tries to take her away. He indignantly accuses a man. He never saw a person in his daughter, only wassilated her from the world. He talks about his own past. He had two parents, different in relation, but still had the freedom to do what he loves, unlike Maya. Abel insists picking it back means deprivation. Her resistance is the only way to life. He directly asks whether the Maya's father considers her weak or thinks that everything is just a game. She confidently states that she has her own will and strength, and even if she can't stand, he will do everything for her. When he hits the earth in anger, Abel does not retreat, although he hesitates deeply in his soul whether his strength is enough. There is doubt inside it, but there is no choice. It is time to act. Memories, Abel explains Maya plan. The enemy wants to capture it alive, and it can be used. Its theatrical reaction should create a moment to blow, even a minor mistake of the enemy. Abel sharply lifts the wall from the ground, dividing them with the enemy. This stops the attacker, and Abel immediately goes to the second phase. Using confusion, the guy uses the most powerful spell. The earthly rage breaks through the soil, the rocks explode from the inside, closing the enemy between the columns. The strength of the element is raging, but even in the center of chaos, Maya's father holds, he watches with a cold calculation. In the middle of the destruction, his view remains clear. He understands where the next course will be. But Abel is ahead of the world tree totem, just over the enemy. The enemy's eyes expand. The maneuver was lightning, and Abel is watching, confident in his decision. Maya's father is embarrassed, feels the same magical aura in totem as the boy. This instant confusion becomes a chance for a decisive step. Abel begins the spell, causing the spirit of the earth for the last decisive attack, focusing all the magical power in this ritual. After completing the invocation, he exclaims the order loudly, activating his magic with extreme determination. A powerful earthen prison is formed around Maya's father, which completely paralyses his movements. He tries to escape, but in vain. The trap has worked unmistakably, and he realizes that he will not be able to escape. When the enemy is tight, Abel activates the final technique, a combination of magnetic control and spiritual power. He calls the technique a scourge of arrows. Energy forms a magical whip charged with a devastating force. A focused charge strikes the enemy, covering his body with light and pain. He yells, feeling the power of the impact. Abel, with a crucifix of determination, causes the final blow. The last fire flash pervades the battlefield. The magical energy ball involves exactly the target, causing the explosion of such a force that the earth shudders from the shock wave. And when the enemy lies exhausted, Abel approaches him, full of firmness and rest. He calls him the leader of the clan Dumb and demands the answer. Why did he pursue Maya? In the air, the tension is still raging, and the prisoner looks silently at them without saying a single word. Abel continues. He says he realized everything. The Mayan stones were transformed into a world tree totem in novel. And it was this magical energy that attracted him. The echo was captured through the asher, but Maya's father is silent, refusing to speak. Despite the wounds and shackles, he growls and begins to break the magical bonds, causing a shock in the eyes of Abel. Realizing that the enemy will escape, the guy acts instantly. The situation is too dangerous. Abel exclaims a new order, dramatically changing the strategy and moving to lock. The scourge of magic again beats the enemy, holding it from the final breakthrough. Even after the impact, the enemy is supplied without having any serious damage. It is stunning Abel. Meanwhile, the warrior squeezed his teeth from anger. His body did not seem, but in his heart the frustration is raging after this humiliation. The warrior of the Duma clan is summed up and accuses Abel of using magic with extraordinary accuracy, indicating that he turns metal instantly, as if at the expense of Maya. He hints that the guy's strength is a consequence of her victim. He then remembers the symbol that appeared in the sky last night, associated with the prophecy and power of Maya. Abel is confused. He does not understand what is being discussed. The warrior, still tight, expresses the suspicion. Abel approached Maya, feeling her potential of the witch to use her strength for his own purposes. It shocks both. Abel does not understand how his magic could influence Maya. She is also embarrassed, not realizing what her father means. The man looks seriously, surprised by their reaction, and finally asks, do they really know nothing about the true nature of the girl's strength? Abel and Maya only exchange tense views. The charges embarrassed both of them, and they do not understand what it is. The warrior continues. 4,000 years ago, the guardian god killer defeated the evil god of Siltfine's sky and sealed him on the moon, falling into a deep dream to restore strength. Abel realizes Kuldr, a guardian of this land, really exists, and this is the same wise god of legends. He tries to understand what that means. Suddenly, Maya's father shocks them with a new revelation. A clan of doom comes from a race created by God himself. Only the elves of the heavenly kingdom know about it. He explains that once the god of heaven created a clan of Duma as a combat force against Kuldr, but after defeat and seal on the moon, Kuldr fell asleep, losing all his strength. Before being sealed, the god of heaven dropped the ancestor of the clan of the Duma to the earth, introducing into him a living book, a special essence that is transmitted to the offspring. Maya is stunned. It is the bearer of a living book, a force that has passed directly from the ancestors of the clan. It changes all her perception of herself. It becomes clear that it is the only carrier of a unique force associated with the will of the god of heaven himself. Its existence is the key to the future. The father explains that the Duma clan was forgiven with Kuldr and received permission to live in the lands of Dinrod in exchange for eternal loyalty. But the god of heaven is gaining power, preparing for return. Even elves do not know what is happening on the moon, and only selected from the clan of Dooms inherit the prophecy associated with the resurrection of the god of heaven. The prophecy says that in 2,000 years, the descendant of the clan will become a weapon through which the god of heaven will return to the world. Maya is a possible heir to this fatal gift. Abel asks the logical question, how does the warrior know all these details, even those who are not known by the priests or the Mar clan? It finds suspicious accuracy of information. including the location of the Kuldur and the liaison with the monthly holiday. The warrior explains, the holiday of the moon, May Day, runs every 500 years, when the moon approaches the earth and the strength of all living things reaches the peak. On this day, magic awakens in all living things, and various nations and religions are celebrated, but few understand the true essence of this event. The protagonist recalls that, until the next holiday of the month there is about half a year, the city is already preparing for celebrations. Trade has come to life. There is a magical rise in the air. The leader of the Duma clan suddenly asks that the characters think of a splash of wild magical animals. It is a hint that the explosions of magic and the approach of the lunar holiday are related. He explains that although the clan was created by the god of heaven, they lived peacefully in 2000 without worshipping him. But fearing a damn baby that can bring chaos, they decided to act. Due to the lack of crystal, the Maya was isolated in a fortress surrounded by a protective barrier. It was to restrain her strength and protect the world. The father confesses that he did not know how effective the barrier was, but believed that isolation for the lunar holiday was the only way out. Maya is stunned. She was never told the truth. She is moved to confess. If she knew that she was protected, not thrown, she would not run away and mercy on her relatives. The father remembers the moment when he realized that she was cursed. As a leader, he had to stop the threat before it grows. But even realizing her danger, he did not dare to deprive her life. He confesses he could not kill her not because of his duty, but because of selfishness. He left her alive because he would not stand the loss. Maya is amazed by his sincerity. She listens to confession with sadness and shock. It was brought up as a tool, not as a child. And now she torments the question, is her fate really to serve evil that should be awake? Meanwhile, a radiant symbol appears in the far mountain region of the tribe. Someone is watching him and calling Jasel, saying that this is a good sign. The girl wanders between the trees, feeling the magical presence of her brother. It seems to her that he is quite close. Everything happens as Simpson predicted. She holds a book with a magical symbol, laughs quietly, considering it incredible as everything goes to her favor. I am sure that everything is at the will of the father. She proclaims that she will take possession of both Abel and a girl, seeing their goals in them. With a smug smile, he convinces himself that his brother wanted to go home. She is sure, controls the situation. From afar, a mysterious woman is observed. She already knew that Jasel was approaching. That's exactly what had to be. Jasel, with a tense expression of the face, reveals its true essence. It is created as a weapon to serve the hacking of God after his return. In her eyes, fear and pity. Behind is a silent observer. The girl reflects on her father's words. If everything is true, it is the threat of the continent, and perhaps even the strength of Abel is a result of its curse. In the midst of the mental torment, it sharply returns to reality, the feeling of the presence of Abel. Bugged in doubt, the girl imagines what Abel feels. He may be shocked, learning that his magic could be under the influence of the power of the evil god. It begins to torment anxiety, and suddenly Abel no longer wants to see her nearby. Nervously hesitating, Maya approaches and calls him. Her voice trembles with fear of a possible answer. Abel is silent for a few tense seconds. Then he quietly speaks her name, and in the air hangs uncertainty. But contrary to all expectations, his eyes shine. He genuinely admires Maya, rejoicing in his strength. Maya is lost, does not understand anything from what he saw, and someone in the background watches with the same shock. Abel recalls the words of Merisef and realizes that if the Maya is the leader of the power of the evil god, then perhaps its influence was awakened by his magic. Even the most frightening techniques born in nightmares could be due to this connection, but instead of fear, he has interest. While Maya becomes surprised, Abel was delighted to thank her that she, not knowing it, helped him to reveal the potential. May I think that she is a disaster tool, but Abel is not worried. He is more interested in exploring magic than to be afraid of prophecies. He sincerely asks her to stay nearby as an object for research. Her cheeks flash, and the words get stuck in her throat. The prisoner watches the amazed, and Abel summarizes, if you understand everything, there is no point in being enemies. Maya still cannot be released. He happily states that he will protect her. He calls his father a dad that causes a wave of rage. Maya stands between them, not knowing how to react. Although the man is first angry, it secretly recognizes Abel's strength. The guy probably has a plan. A little time has passed. In the Abel's estate, a woman, full of despair, meets, demanding explanations. People around shocked, a whole mountain is destroyed nearby. Everyone looks at Abel and his companions as the culprits. While the crowd is trying to understand the cause, Abel confesses that he called the suspects. At this point, the detachment of Merisef arrives, and the soldier reports that they have caused. The attendees lose the gift of language from this statement, all in full misunderstanding. Abel tries to justify himself, explaining that they have arrived to investigate problems in agriculture, like the attack was a misunderstanding. He adds that he forgot to warn about excavations, but instead of clarifying the situation, it is still even more confused. The confusion is only growing. The team is quarreling for morning chaos. One of the participants is justified. They say the specialist was so fond of a rare find that he did not restrain himself and began to dig the earth just in the middle of the night. The other promises to correct everything with magic. However, the local elder reproaches Abel for unrestrained behavior. He apologizes and swears immediately. They go through the mountainous terrain, and the guy says he will establish a totem to start construction. But the magic in the deck is not enough. He recalls how Marin's village was generously blessed with magical energy. One of the satellites hints that time is not on the guy's side. Talks come about the awakening of the heavenly god, and his friends are already beginning to doubt whether they will find a solution, just standing out of work. Suddenly, the guy recalls, if there is no magic barrier like in his village, then a signal in the sky can attract the servants of the evil deity. One of the satellites is approaching too close, noticing that the stone responds to a gem with a guy on his head. It is amazing everyone, and then they remember that maybe someone is still understanding the formulas of the ancient. Then the guy gets an artifact, a magical tool that can be used for makeshift protection in this area. He silently examines the artifact while others explain. He is from the ruins, and if he returns to the village, he will intensify at times. It nods concerned. The idea is really right. However, the situation is disturbing. With such power, any sorcerer will be able to recognize the barrier and punch it. He recognizes in magic protection is understood. Decides to collect more data, asks people from the tribe to help clean the territory, and he intends to find materials for research. Everything should be tried here, and then decide further. But first it activates the spell of teleportation, sending a magical creature to a world tree. Maya, inspired, also offers help. But one of the satellites stops everyone. He remembered something important. He looks carefully at the wooden doll used by the guy. The material is similar to the one from which the barrier artifact is made. This discovery hints at the connection between the doll and the artifact, and perhaps this is the key to creating a protective barrier. The guy suddenly realizes the basis of the doll is really from the world tree. It was just worn. One of the satellites adds that they learned about Maya thanks to the sign in the sky. Maya guesses that if the sign caused her strength, then Mariceps probably even then determined her location. However, the man says he has followed her for 2 months and never saw anything like that. The guy suggests that the world tree may have a barrier effect, and it was he who defended Maya from detection. But why didn't he work that night? The guy explains Totem patrolled the fields and was too far. Probably the distance weakened the protection. The guy explains that the totem by themselves can hide the presence of a person from evil entities, like a barrier. If the totem is made of a world tree, its protective force should be several times more powerful. Maya is stunned and a long-haired man nods thoughtfully. It is worth exploring. But suddenly someone is called, and Abel is distracted by voice. Aroused, Maya recalls, all this is the will of fate. They found a world tree together, it bought wood, and Abel created a totem. The guy suddenly remembers that he never returned her debt. The next step is to find more information about the place where this tree grows. One of the men is ready to go, but Abel asks to wait. There are still unfinished things. While all gathered in the field, the long-haired orders to groove immediately. There is something strange in the air that attracts the attention of everyone. The guards are rapidly running to the source of unknown presence. The atmosphere changes to alarming. The dark aura is felt. Suspecting the presence of a demon, the guy declares anxiety. Everyone understands something is approaching. His heart squeezes anxiety. Perhaps the symbol in the sky has attracted not only them, but also the servants of the heavenly god. One of the men with a serious face confirms they are already going. The tension increases until the back of the brother calls behind. The danger is already nearby. The guy is in a state of shock. A familiar figure appears in front of him. Slowly holding a book and smiling, a young girl approaches him. His heart shudder is Jassel. The light floods everything around. A new consciousness is born. Not understanding how, she instinctively feels that it is light is its source, its beginning. Consciousness states that he was created by Silfheim he considers his father. Together with his birth, it is absorbed by the flow of knowledge. Silfheim was defeated and sealed by another god, but is preparing for the resurrection. Shadow's older brothers created for it appear around it. She receives a direct order from the creator. Go down to the ground, sow chaos, and prepare the arena for the moon festival. she still has to find a magical grimmer. Together with the brothers, she descends to the world of people to prepare the ground for his father's return and to ensure a free invasion. But unlike them, it is weak and does not have great magical power. While others ruthlessly destroy everything, it can only act cunningly, affecting weakened hearts, quietly in shadow. First, he tries to master a strong beast, but he almost absorbs it. Next is an average magician, but people expose it, and it miraculously avoids death. Due to all failures, it became the object of neglect among its own brothers. Demons considered it in vain, weak, without aura, whose presence did not change anything. Despite the absence of power, the creature passionately wants to prove its value and become a useful father, as well as her mighty brothers. He is a constant humiliation, she decides. If he cannot influence the direction, he will affect someone strong, and then suddenly the attack begins. The totem of the world tree is strictly thrown sideways. The cart was destroyed when struck. 3 strangers are rapidly approaching. The guy gets in the battlefield with staff. Everything is observed by the dark sphere, which is slowly sneaking. The essence understands the guy is not an ordinary magician. She is fascinated by the idea of conquering him, but she realizes that it is impossible in this state. She begins to look for a weak place, observes, calculates, until it finds the perfect point of influence. A girl with a notebook calls her brother. Seeing the emotional connection between them, the dark essence understands it is its chance. Filled with determination, she found a way to get a guy. Plans go into action. The guy is surprised. Jaisal approaches him, smiles, holds a book. He calls him his brother and says she missed. He is shocked. Where did she come from? Everyone is surprised to find out that Jaisal is a younger sister, Abel. Maya is amazed. Others look with suspicion. One of them notices a strange aura coming from Jaisal's book and suspects that it is controlled by a demon. Abel is frightened. Have you not taken possession of a sister? Jaisal is approaching calmly and apologizing for making her brother go so far. She confesses that she regrets her test and understands his fear of the laws of the village, but he emphasizes, since then everything has changed. Jaisal insists home together, saying that even his father will probably forgive him. Her smile is full of tenderness and belief. The guy pronounces her name embarrassed. The whole situation knocks it out of balance. One of the men shouts to make Jaisal departure from Grimer, warning of danger. Abel is tense. But the girl ignores the caveat. He says calmly that it was brought here by a clairvoyant named Seven-san, who considered their union fateful. And then she declares herself. Jaisal Bellek, bride Abel. Maya solidifies in complete misunderstanding. The shock wraps everyone. Abel is silent, and Maya in despair requires explanations. Her father explodes anger. What did he think about his daughter? Among the chaos, Abel panic, not understanding how everything went so far. Jaisal holds a cold, serious look and is watching the events. With a straight and piercing look, she looks at Maya and asks sharply who really is. Maya is lost, her face pale. Jaisal is wondering what a girl has a relationship with her brother. Maya tries to answer, but is lost in words. He does not know how to explain the connection with Abel. The dark essence is gladly watching the confusion, believing that she is extremely lucky. She realizes that the girl next to Abel is not a regular companion, but an embodied magical grimmer left by her father. This confirms her belief in her own exclusivity. The essence of Jaisal is preparing it for the next step. Under the influence of demonic force, the girl begins to behave strange. She reiterates that he has to obey orders and stubbornly ignores Maya, pretending that it does not exist. Abel tries to say something to explain who Maya is, but is confused in words. Maya is amazed by the absurdity of the situation. Jaisal, meanwhile, begins to argue with himself. She orders some Simpson to silence, stating that he will manage herself. Maya sharply asks who she is to claim Abel. Abel and Maya understand that Jaisal speaks with Grimar. The guy guesses his sister fully controls some creature. Others also come to the conclusion. It is most likely a low-level demon, which has the power of only mental impact. These words are deeply wounded by the spirit that lives in the book. He rages from the insult. He swears to make them pay for disrespect and decides to act at full force. Jaisal suddenly loses control and releases a gamuar from his hands. Abel, Maya, and others shocked what is happening. She is shaky as if she loses balance as long as the book falls hard to the ground. The voltage in the air increases. Jaisal begins to laugh ominously. His face is distorted. Abel is stunned. Another man confirms the demon has fully mastered her body. Under his control, Jaisal orders Abel to surrender immediately. With a threatening look, she warns, you should not even think of resistance because his sister's life is in her hands. Abel is angry and confused, realizing how dangerous the situation is. He panics, looking for a way out when a horned man says to act quickly, even if it is threatened by Jaisal. After all, a demonic presence can reveal the location of the Maya. Meanwhile, the demon smiles coldly and orders to bring puppets. Suddenly caused by the totem, striking all present, the atmosphere is exacerbated, the tension is felt in the air. The girl focuses on light energy around her. A powerful stream lifts her hair and clothing, and above her head begins to soar the shining sphere. She hit the ground, splitting it under her feet. Her body is wrapped in dazzling aura, the forces are still accumulating. When the energy comes out of control, the girl falls rapidly down like a projectile. Allies in shock do not understand what will happen next. It swings sharply in the direction of the group, forcing everyone to evade. One of the satellites grabs the other, saving it from a direct blow. The explosion is about. The girl bypasses the rear and throws the spell right. A magical circle flashes over the head. The victim loses consciousness and falls, plunging into a deep sleep. Friends are watching from afar, but too late. Grasping her body, the witch controls it as a puppet, enhancing the body with magic. Abel recognizes the technique, shocked by its level. He hears that Jaisal has mastered the secrets of the tribe for him. She now has 2 hostages. She requires the guy to give up immediately. With a sadistic smile, he presses on him, stating, "You want to save them, give your body." Abel compresses his fists, looks at a dark magician. While the enemy repeats the demand, one of the allies breaks off the name of Abel. The tension reaches the peak. The situation seems hopeless. One of the men proclaims that he will fulfill the plan of Heavenly God, even at the cost of his own life. Abel tries to stop him, but he is unwavering. Then the guy exclaims that Jaisal is his sister, and that he understands the desire to protect his loved ones, hopes to wake up humanity in opponent. Maya covers the magic barrier, completely clamping the body. Abel warns that any careless step threatens her life. At the same time, the enemy activates a new spell. It enhances the protection around the hostage, demonstrating complete control over the situation. Abel coldly analyzes. The only chance to save them is to separate Jaisal's consciousness from her body, and he knows that the totem of the world tree is able to do it. But remembering the battle with his father, he understands that the problem is not only in magic, but in the frantic speed provided by the technique of puppet. The guy is aware that it is necessary to neutralize the totem, by which Jaisal controls the body of the hostage. Meanwhile, she smiles predatory and calls without hesitation, a powerful winding, aiming it directly at the allies. A powerful spell of wind with frantic force flies to the allies. One of them tries to react, but too late. The explosion covers the earth, raising the cloud of dust and debris. One of the fighters is intensely resisting a shock wave. Abel explains that the totem controls the strengthening of the bruise of the puppet, which means that, by destroying it, you can expel the demon from the body of Jaisal. It becomes the key to victory. It is enough to get into a vulnerable place. The ally understands the task, focused on targets high among trees. All for a moment fade in intense silence. As soon as they get a signal, they are rapidly rushing forward, ready to complete the plan. But Jaisal in instant answers, causing a powerful spell of the earth. A giant projectile emerges from the subsoil and flies with incredible force towards those who approach the totem. One ally still breaks closer and jumps, preparing to destroy the totem. Abel rejoices in the breakthrough, and Jaisal first loses its coolness. But at the last moment, the totem shifts on its own sideways, avoiding the impact. The fighter in the air is surprised, but does not stop. Reconstructs the trajectory in the air, trying to achieve the target. But suddenly the earth grabs his foot with a trap just in flight, cutting off the attack. Other allies rush to the rescue, and Jaisal is already preparing even more powerful spell. It concentrates energy, going to strike a stroke. The ally screams from pain. He is activated by a curse that holds back the body. Abel notices totem is protected not only by magic, but also by the magic of automatic counter-strife. Jaisal, smiling, says she predicted their plan. She knew that they would try to destroy the totem. The affected ally falls on his knees, feeling the effect of the curse. Abel exclaims his name, seeing how the situation is out of control. Jaisal asks if Abel is ready to become her servant. He is silent, holding back anger. Meanwhile, a new voice is in the far place that turns to someone named Sibabai. It's a hint of help or unexpected turn. Elsewhere, the group travels the forest path. One guy lags and the girl angrily adjusts him. Although he is the son of a hunter, he never left the village. The group recalls those who refused to travel through a longing for home, but they cannot leave Jaisal alone, so they continue the way. Suddenly, a roar erupts in the distance. Everyone is alert. A man with anxiety asks why his children went so far. the girl is afraid of the outside world and panic. Understanding where the sound came from, everyone is rapidly moving in that direction. A giant crater was formed on the battlefield, a result of an explosion. In the center of the rupture, the land is destroyed to the ground. The figures are scattered around, the heroes affected by the explosive wave. One of the allies, barely holding on his knees, tries not to faint. Jaisal is at risk, demanding a decision. Abel waves, begging her to stop. But she ruthlessly presses further, approaching closer and ominously calling him brother, playing on feelings. He asks loudly why she was never recognized. After all, she even surpassed Abel, mastered the puppet technique, which he could not study. The only thing she wanted was simple praise. He confesses that she studied the favorite magic of Abel, only to be proud of it. Nevertheless, I never waited attention. At this point, the obsession is increasing, but Mia begins to resist. Inside the barrier, the girl comes to her senses, screams and fights, falling out of control. Jaisal is surprised by her will. The demonic presence warns not to harm Mia, recognizing its importance in the plan. Abel begs not to touch her, but the spirit in despair recognizes that the body no longer belongs to him. The spell suddenly breaks. Totem flashes dazzling light, and the ally is surprised the magical connection is torn. With the cry of determination, he causes a powerful blow using that moment. Abel sees the discovery and rushes to the totem, preparing a spell. Jaisal is confused and begins to retreat. The chance to break the battle finally appeared. Abel activates the exorcism spell into full force. The totem covers the radiance. The demon begins to break out, but it's late. Jaisal falls on his knees, exhausted by the rupture of magic. Mia slowly descends to the ground, liberated. The allies run up to her as the spirit of the demon begins to dissolve in the air. But Abel does not allow the demon to disappear. He strongly states that he will not forgive the committed. Instead of destroying, he decides to capture the spirit because he has many more questions, operates a special grimoire and causes a magical circle. Then he throws the essence simply into the book and seals it with a team. The seal flashes, the threat is neutralized. Abel immediately runs to Jaisal. It lies unconscious, without strength. Waking up, he looks confusedly, not understanding what happened. He carefully supports her, and she calls it with his brother. The awareness returns. She acknowledges that she gave her power to Sim without thinking. She hoped that the brother would soon return home but regret it. Her anxiety for him was pushed to this mistake. Abel is frustrated, apologies for making her worry. He explains that it is not her fault. The demon took advantage of the vulnerability of her heart. Jaisal, with tears, says he will no longer make him marry her, but he admits that he cannot live in the village without it. He is always asked to be nearby. Abel apologizes, but says that even without pressure, he will not be able to return. It impresses Jaisal her brother decided to go forever. To soften the blow, he explains, he is involved in an even more dangerous business that threatens the whole country. He wants to come back, but he doesn't know when. Jaisal is silent, slowly aware of what he said. Then cold replies, eyes expand, emotions on the verge. The rage awakens, the idea that she will be abandoned again, unbearable for her. She does not accept such a future. I am sure that Abel was deceived. Jaisal is getting into a new state of obsession. She believes that only she is able to save him because he is naive and vulnerable. Her look darkens, she decides to act. Abel tries to stop her, but she no longer hears. Obsessed, rushes to grimoire where the demon is closed. Others notice late. With insane in her gaze, she reaches out her hand to break the seal. The spell begins confidently. The magical circle flashes under it. Her body is wrapped in powerful energy. It rises into the air. The book plans nearby, immersed in the dark, and the new threat begins to awaken. The called girl appears in front of the main character, shocking her. With an empty look and anxious smile, it requires the strength of Simpson, hiding decisive and mysterious intentions. She states that it will use this force better than the predecessor. Energy begins to thicken, and everyone around fades, stunned by incredible power. However, trying to use a new power, the girl cannot stand. Uncontrolled magic covers her body, causing severe pain. Grimaru falls to the ground, and it screams. In the distance, the guy in a panic screams her name, Jaisal, seeing her devour this power. In despair, he rushes to the place of the explosion, where Jaisal has just disappeared, completely covered by horror and confusion. A wave of doubt captures him. Was it really broken? Is the demon that was released is so powerful? The territory around is completely destroyed, and a dark threat is raised from the devastation center. In the air, the demonic figure of the female likeness, surrounded by a threatening aura, is ladding. They are shocked, immediately aware of the scale of danger. The creature calmly inspects everyone, I am convinced that her brother is deceived. One of the men remembers how she always painfully protected him from the unclean intentions of others. It begins to activate a new magical circle, a signal that is approaching something even more powerful. Suddenly, the demon throws a direct magic attack towards a man. He reacts instantly, realizing the danger. Behind him, the girl rushes to meet, trying to protect or save him. The attack with force explodes, causing a powerful blow to the ground. The guy watches scare and notices something alarming. The spell was imposed without a poem. He realizes that the demon has fully seized Giselle. After a devastating blow, the soldiers were wounded and frightened. Retreat. Everyone is watching the approach of the creature. One of them, covered with horror, understands the true threat and shouts, "Flow!" The demon causes panic with its appearance. The guy lifts the barrier from the light, trying to protect his comrades from advancement of the monster. Meanwhile, the demonic figure calmly contemplates everything, muttering, "Older brother." Her actions are imbued with personal feelings. The hero studies magical patterns and suddenly recognizes the similarity with the spell of the enemy Ebelhade. He realizes that this magic is originally from the celestial country. The demon absorbed the power of the heavenly god himself. The man nearby realizes Jassel alone broke the seal of Grimoire. This makes the team understand that the demon cunningly deceived them. Others are convinced that Jassel would not have been not influenced. Her actions are a consequence of anxiety for her brother, and the demon took advantage of this weakness. Meanwhile, the essence filled with malice is irritated by voices around. It is absorbed by darkness. She wants the world to be cleansed of all but her brother. While the demon attacks with incredible rage, the guy is watching carefully, preparing for a critical moment. He has a plan to use a chance to teleport the world totem behind Jassel and break the demon. Despite the devastating spells, it does not lose concentration. The ideal moment is approaching, and it is then that it works. The guy activates the teleportation light, is lighting behind the demonic essence. Totem is successfully postponed. Everyone around us, when the girl recognizes the object with horror, it is a chance to free Jassel. The totem's strength is activated with loud sound. They are stunned, and Jassel himself recognizes it and exclaims the artifact. The demonic essence curves from pain. The totem begins to act. The guy with the ally monitors the reaction, hoping for success. But the demon attacks with a direct blow. The guy does not have time to react. The armored warrior rushes forward, trying to stop the attack or protect a friend. The situation becomes even worse. Giselle's soul is completely subdued by the power of the heavenly god. Totem is destroyed. The chance of separation with the demon disappears. One of the fighters orders to destroy the girl, recognizing his weakness, but the guy decidedly refuses. Allies argue. Some insist that it is impossible to delay. If you act with all force, the enemy can be defeated. The girl warns time is on the verge. If not act now, everyone will die. The guy understands the rates are too high. Without a world totem, it is almost impossible to expel a demon. The last option remains to use a powerful artifact, a Beal Ball. But the guy is hesitant. Will Jassel survive a direct blow? Then the girl remembers. They just need another real totem. They recall one made of earthly magic, but the guy explains it was only a form. The real totem should be derived from a tree containing magical power. It compares the expulsion of the demon to decryption of a complex code. And Jassel, absorbed by heavenly power, became even more powerful, and to break the curse became even harder. To expel the demon, you need a totem equal to the power of the world tree. But the guy recognizes there is no time, and he does not know where to find such a tree. He recalls that the first totem came out only thanks to the match, in the right place and with the right materials. It is almost impossible to repeat this now, but in his eyes, a spark of the idea suddenly appears. At this point, two people shocked by what were seen from afar. A new group is approaching the battlefield. They fade frightened, seeing Jassel in its distorted and extremely powerful form. The guy, full of determination, asks Marispa to distract the essence as he prepares a new spell. It is a dangerous but the only chance to save everyone. The Marispa rushes forward, filling the demonic creature with a scraving of attacks to attract its attention. The essence answers, returns to it, ready for battle. Meanwhile, the guy, along with the ally, reads a spell on running. He does not want to kill Giselle. The girl is full of hope, and he mentally begs for magic to work. The demonic essence is alert. Something is approaching. This may mean that the plan is valid. A powerful explosion of energy shakes the field, forming a magical wave that captures everything around. The guy stands firmly, directing magic with all determination. Its strength covers the terrain. It is the culmination of battle. The essence is absorbed by magic. Its body shudders. The guy is watching with tension, holding his breath. In light flashes, it begins to rise into the air, a sign that the spell began to work. Concentrated energy explodes around the guy, creating a powerful barrier that holds the demonic power. He is tired, barely holding on his feet, but does not think fights to the last to save Jassel. The spell causes a chain reaction. Magic becomes too dangerous. One of the allies shouts that everything can end in the death of all. The girl with anxiety exclaims his name, but despite the pain and pressure, he is not distracted, completely focused on the end of the ritual. Abil is approaching the essence, focusing all its power. He desperately calls her, loudly and decisively. And finally, she reacts. Its essence shudders as if responding to a call. In his eyes there is hope. He feels that someone or something is approaching. What he was waiting for was finally appeared, the end of the video. The guy feels a sudden change and fades in surprise. Grasping the perfect moment, Abil directs the full force of the spell and powerfully orders the demon to leave Gizel's body. The sacred glow falls from the sky, responding to his team. The flow of purification energy shocks the demon. The rays penetrate her body, slowly wrapping it with a glow of purification, is a sign that exorcism works. After the spell, Abil calls the wind to help him get to the jazz, which fell to the ground. Running, he leans over her, full of hope, and quietly calls her. It slowly opens the eyes in tears, and with a confused look, consciousness returns. The weakened Jazz whisper to the brother. Abil smiles with relief. She became again. Meanwhile, one of the witnesses thinks how they underestimated the demon, considering it a small threat. But the dark presence silently denies it. She watches from afar, knowing Giselo absorbed the power of the demon and used it as her own. The potential of these two scares. The essence recognizes they are too dangerous. She hesitates whether even Lord Silphium will be able to overcome them. One of the fighters notices a bunch of wooden dolls and asks where they are. Abil explains from his family home, and the plan was risky. But he worked, smiling. The guy thanks his teacher for trust in the strategy. Abil reveals a cunning plan. He used educational totem, which he left on the tobacco fields of the family. Although they had no power for teleportation, the sound from the animal scarecrow was signal, and the totem was called back into battle. In the village of Marin, residents suddenly hear a strange sound from the fields of aromatic tobacco. The elder goes to the estate of Belak's family, where a woman named Jin meets him. The Abela plan worked at a distance. Arriving in the garden, he sees many totems. Gina shows that the rest is in the backyard. The elder understands. This is a message from Ebel, who managed to teleport the totem to the outskirts of the country. Stunned, he admires the genius of the plan and immediately activates the circle of teleportation, knowing the situation is critical. It is explained that a lot of magic is usually required for distant teleportation, proportional to distance, but if the magical circles are already prepared at both points, it is possible with minimal cost. It was this smart scheme that used Abil. Abil explains that he coordinated everything in advance. He asked the elder to activate a magical circle, so when the time came, he was able to accept totem. The plan worked perfectly. One of the warriors with enthusiasm notes the ingenuity of the guy. Even a simple device for deterrent to the beasts has become a key element. Abil adds that this device now reproduces simple sounds, but is able to transmit messages using Morse alphabet. He wants to create something like a magical phone. The elder confesses that he does not fully understand, but the present device is a useful alarm for the village. Looking away, the elder thinks, maybe Abil has never been created for life only in this village. A new group runs to them, calling Lord Abil. Seeing the local ruler, the guy is nervous. It looks like an official conversation awaits him. Exhausted, he is concerned about the consequences of chaos. He doubts that he will be able to explain everything as a magical study. Suddenly he hears his father's voice, and surprisingly, it is not hallucination. Father and Phiro are already nearby. Abil and his companion are shocked. A group of officials requires explanations. The guy exclaims, promising to resolve everything, but Merzep intervenes. There is no time for chats. He reminds that the servant of the god of heaven is defeated, totem is lost, and the danger has only increased. They have to go to the world tree immediately. One of the government officials is panicking, but Abil promises to settle everything later. Now the most important thing is to save the country. Looking at his father and sister, the guy strongly speaks. He is obliged to prevent the resurrection of another god. His gaze burns with determination. The battle has not been completed. One of the men says he will not return to the village until everything is decided. Others silently mention the battle they have just seen. One of them sighs, even if he calls himself God, after what he saw, argue with it is in vain. The woman is silent, but her facial expression is serious. Jazel understands she can never win or stop her brother. His path will inevitably distance him from her. The awareness of this painfully permeates her soul. It cannot stand. Tears rush the flow. Jazz is crying aloud, covered with boundless sadness, all around stunned. In her head, the memory is throbbing. All this is for the sake of him. Magic, journey, effort, just to be next to Abil. And here someone unexpectedly assumes, what if she goes with him? The proposal is amazing everyone. One young man notes that Jazel has almost the same force as her brother and can be useful in the trip. Angry, Jazel agrees. Her eyes are determined. She will go anywhere, only be near her brother. Abil looks amazed at his father. He retains a serious, silent expression. In the end, the father bows his head, although worried, but decides, let it go, only let them return alive. Jazel is happy. He will do everything possible, even if you have to face God. Abil is confused, does not know how to react. Full determination, they go on the road. Ahead is a battle with God. Everyone carries their own purpose in the heart, but all are united by one will.